Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team pick. Dire team pick.
Ember Spirit.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here with the ETS Pro Series. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. John, have to extend my apologies to the viewers. We were only advised that we were casting this about a minute ago, but sir, how do you feel? We're here.
Oh, I'm feeling great, Mike. You know, I love casting Southeast Asian games. It's good to be finally back in the region. It was pretty short notice. I've got to admit, I did have to rush through lunch, and you know how we Southeast Asians are. Can't have us skipping a meal. Still managed to fit in that lunch, and what better way to tie up that lunch with some good Dota 2?
That's very, very true, John. Boom Esports versing the former Team IO squad, I believe it is, in this matchup. In a best of 3, should be a lot of fun. Of course, Boom looking like a very, very strong team overall. The IO Esports, they were kind of up and down with their with the way they were playing, though there's some very, very familiar names. There's always some very, very nice potential for them to pull off an upset here, I would say, up against Boom Esports. So we'll have a look at the betting odds once we get into the game. Still, however, the draft has begun. Boom Esports, they go into the Ember Spirit Oracle pickup as their first 2. CR, however, Snapfire into the Boy Earth Spirit coming up.
Yeah, I'd have to say Boom Esports opening a lot stronger on paper. The Ember Spirit, of course, has been a top priority ban and pick for a lot of teams, so they managed to snag that through in first phase. Snapfire Earth Spirit is a solid combination. I think there are lots of ways to play around this. The Ember Spirit, as long as you don't get caught by that Earth Spirit silence and stun, you're gonna have free reign to just jump in and out, so that is something that CR is gonna have to worry about constantly, whether or not that Ember Spirit is gonna be a massive issue for them. And of course, the Oracle now for Boom Esports as well does give them a lot of flexibility in drafting their core. So they've got a lot of ways of making their lineup work for Boom Esports. They're not locked into anything just yet, and they already have a lot of value with that Oracle and the Ember Spirit. CR, again, you can make that Snapfire work quite well. The Earth Spirit, we have seen a couple of games where it can be effective. Hasn't had the best run so far. It is a bit of a shakier opening for CR.
Yeah, sure is, but I love where they're going with the draft, of course, John. You know I get very excited when the Earth Spirit pops up. Very, very excited. I can only imagine where this draft's going for them. Still, CR, they will ban out the Troll Warlord now. Third pick up. We're going to see some cores coming out, and whoa, Sand King will be the pick. Now, This hero is a bit, just ones you don't see very often anymore. I personally think it's a very nice hero to have in that off lane. I think it still offers a hell of a lot. How do you feel about it?
I'm a bit iffy on it. I think it has lost some of that luster it used to have. I think it can still be effective, and in the case of CR's lineup, it certainly does give them a lot more to play with, so you have a pretty decent way of getting that stun in from afar. That can kind of work just fine. It is I believe, the Ohio specialty, so we could see him in that hero. That's something we've seen him play a lot, although again, out a bit, but it does give you something to play with. Whether or not it's going to apply that same pressure onto the safe laner is a different question. I think there is a very good reason we haven't seen too much of the Sand King anymore. Definitely has kind of fallen out of favor there.
The clockwork now comes out from Boom, and I'm getting even more excited, John. Another one of our favorites. I think this hero is very strong in the meta right now. I think it's very viable in the +4 or 3 position. Stands for now, we don't know exactly what position this clock is going to be in. But what do you think about this? Do you think it's a nice pickup?
I love the clockwork in this game.
5 seconds remaining.
Having that clock up against the Sand King, especially up against the Snapfire, you have a great way of going in, stopping these channeled spells from going out. You have a great way of scouting out the Sand King and Earth Spirit. You have a lot of value from just picking this clockwork up. Not only that, but you have something to follow up with your Ember Spirits. You have something that can go just as far, just as fast with that hook shot. And there's a lot of ways for Boom Esports to really make this work. I think with a team like Boom ID that we've watched over and over again, with the playstyle they have, this kind of opening from them does tell me they're going to be sticking to that fast-paced playstyle. The clockwork and the Ember don't take too long to come online. The Oracle is going to enable that kind of playstyle. And the thing with CR's draft is that it's not bad on paper per se. In fact, they pick up the Raid King to try to give themselves some of that aggression as well. It just doesn't feel like the greatest response to whatever Boom Esports has in mind, because again, these guys love running at you very fast, very early on, securing an early advantage. Now, CR doesn't take too long to come online, but they are somewhat held back by cooldowns if they're going to constantly fight against a 5-man push. They're going to depend on their Sand King ult, on their Snap ult,
5
and
seconds remaining.
it's not going to be as fast as Boom Esports cooldowns are.
I agree with you on that. Raid King, one of those popular cores right now. We'd love to see it. Obviously works very well with this current draft they have got going, John. This very, very fast-paced kind of lineup. And they really can start to overtake the game and push down those towers very, very quickly if they're not careful there on the side of Boom Esports. However, Boom, 4th pick for them now. They've got a very fast-paced kind of lineup themselves already. How do they respond to the Raid King pickup? We could always see something a bit more late game like a PO come out here, as it is still available if they wish to go for that kind of pickup. Instead, they will continue the trend and go for a Batrider. And with that Batrider, it is a bit of a flex pick as well, because you still have that clock Batrider that can both be position 3s or 4s. And it's going to be a question of which one's which for now.
Definitely. I think in this case, the favor has been towards Batrider support for the most part, simply because he can dip into the jungle as needed. Play the clockwork on pause 4, he'd basically get no farm, and the Batrider would get about the same amount of farm as if he. I think if you're gonna try to distribute that gold a bit more evenly, you'd have clock core, but it really depends on what Boom wants to get out of their lane. With a Batrider core instead, they can play much further forward. They'd have a lot more presence in that lane. Of course, the Batrider can just escalate from bullying out whatever core is there. Now, depends on how much they want to keep that Raid King shut down. Gonna rely on that. I do like the draft so far from Boom. I think that Batrider is great in this case because there is no way to stop the lasso. Like, really have no way of stopping the Batrider from jumping in, getting the lasso off. You don't have to worry about the Oracle because it's on your side. So you have great follow-up from Blink as well. You could get the root off mid-Blink and even have that to follow up. You don't have any room to really get the Abaddon here for CR, although Raid King Abaddon is an annoying combination because neither hero will die, but it is a bit too late to pick the Abaddon in here for CR. You're not going to worry about any way that lasso gets purged off. A lot of value in this pick, Batrider.
There is a lot of land right now, so I'm just the people at BTS. Not my internet, so it looks like
Radiant team pick.
to talk about the draft because we just want to get this sorted.
Yeah, so I think the last pick is going to be much more pivotal for CR. I think especially with this kind of lineup, they'd want something that comes online fairly quickly as well. You would want to be tied into a cool... That, again, it's the main issue with CR. Sand King has a pretty long cooldown on Epicenter. Snapfire has a decently long cooldown on Kisses. And outside of that teamfight combination, you're looking up against heroes from Boom Esports that don't really care for teamfight. They just keep running at you. They don't need wide AoE control. They can just get locked down on every single hero one by one, or isolating certain heroes. That just makes it much easier. CR is going to have to pull out something great here for their last pick in what I assume is mid. And Boom, honestly, at this point, I think their draft is pretty much set, right? Like, they don't really need anything special here. They go with the Alchemist in the end just to give themselves a way of accelerating very fast. I think with the heroes you have on Boom East side, that Alchemist can get a lot of work done simply because you can't... Yeah, you can expect some aggression from CR. Like, they've got the Earth Spirit that's a very great here to have to rotate on that Alk, depending on where they lane it. Of course, could still be a safe lane Alk, mid Ember in the end. But you've got that flexibility now for Boom. You've got that farm ability now for Boom as well. How they distribute the farm between the Alk and the Bat in the jungle, if ever the Bat has to dip in there, is another question. Although I do believe Alchemist will get the priority there. So you have really fast heroes coming out from Boom Esports, and CR go with a Slark in the end. So that's an interesting pick. Gonna be keen to see. That's not quite the answer I had in mind. I guess Slark does enjoy playing against the Oracle. Like, anyone that's False Promised up, Slark will get a lot more stacks. So that is one way to really play against that False Promise.
Okay. John, I'm sorry, I'll have to keep asking you to talk as we're still trying to sort out those issues, trying to get it sorted ASAP. I will be right back.
Problem.
I'm just gonna see, just gonna make sure everything's okay on my end just before we take any further actions to reset the stream or anything like that. Be right back.
So it does look like with Ben-Hur on Slark, there is a big chance that we see that Slark mid, which be a very I mean, it's not the first time that's ever happened. It's still not the most usual situation you'd want. And the laning situation, Slark up against Alchemist, is strange. That's definitely not the lane matchup you see too often. I do believe that Slark can play around that quite well. Although once the Alk hits around level 3 with level 2 Acid, it's troublesome to stand that AoE. Alchemist does enjoy melee heroes for that reason in matchups, because he can really leverage his lane presence just by having that spell available. So that's something CR has to be very conscious about. We've drafted them into a very weird hole as well. They've got 3 melee cores up against an Ember Spirit, Flock, and Bat. These are heroes that can really punish, get kited around easily, so they have ways of keeping control on the Wraith King, on that Slark, on that Sand King. Be interesting to see how far they can push it. Big thing here, CR, is that they can't afford to lose out in their lane. Boom ID will try to run you down very fast, but CR can't afford to lose that space. They need a lot of early farm to go onto the Wraith King. They need early farm to go into the Slark as well. So they're going to ensure that their Earth Spirit pickup actually does work for them. Like, definitely needs come into play. Start shutting down lanes to start applying its own pressure, because if it doesn't, R is going to be bleeding a lot of ground towards the aggression Boom ID is known to bring.
Thank you for that, John. I apologize, just confirming. We do have people looking at the tech side of things to try and sort out the lag, by the way. So don't worry, it should be fixed within a few minutes. Hopefully, they are rushing, of course, to try and get it sorted ASAP. Nevertheless, John, we look at the game. FBZ already going to get jumped on a very nice folder smash from Ohio as they start moving forward. FBZ getting very low. Hyde will be there to intercept on the clock. KezQ also going to be there on the Oracle just in case. And looks like they will get the Bat Rider out of there safely, though. FBZ actually losing a lot of HP. will have to commit a Tango and an Ironwood branch very early on to sort that out. Did we confirm, by the way, is this an offlane clock or is it an offlane Batrider? I think it's the offlane Batrider, right?
Yeah, it's more than likely the offlane bat in this case. C playing, so you would assume that. Still, I think this is gonna hurt the Clockwork's progression more because he can't play catch up in the jungle. But this is gonna ensure that your Batrider is gonna have really good timings and everything. It should at least give us a pretty decent timing into the BO3s and Blink. They are going to go for that route, so FBZ should have a fairly fast escalation there. You can't expect too much from Hyde, at the very least in terms of farm. Should still be able to get some EXP. That's really the key thing for the pause 4 clock.
Okay. Well, BT faded on that Wraith King. Should have some difficulty here up against the Batrider. It's never an easy lane when you have to go up against that core or support Batrider for that matter. And this is why the sticky napalm comes out, slows that turn rate, slows everything, and a couple levels you have that Firefly, you have the Flame Break, and suddenly everything becomes a real headache. By the way, John, good news, I have received confirmation that apparently the lag issues on stream have been resolved, so I thought I'd mention that. It's good news.
Awesome. That's great to see. And, you know, just this lane matchup for VT Faded, it's gonna be rough. Like, Wraith King is actually one of those cores that really doesn't get too much starting armor as a melee hero. He has 2. So again, once you get the stacks up on FBZ, it's really easy to punish. VT Fade is down to half from sheer right-click trades with him.
He certainly is, and it's only gonna get worse. Of course, we'll have a quick look at the mid lane where you'll see Ben-Hur on the Slark up against Mikoto, and I love the matchup. Putting the Slark mid up against the Alchemist, making it a lot harder of a matchup for this Alch. And, you know, generally speaking, Alchemists already, you know, are very susceptible to taking a lot of damage. When you're up against a Slark who steals Essence Shift over and over again, it's going to be even more painful. However, top lane, speaking of painful, Hyde, he may find the first one on Mushi, though no, Mushi will stick charge and he will manage to run away in time. But back to that mid lane, John. This Slark should have a pretty darn old good time. In fact, never mind that, because BT Faded is falling very low on the Wraith King now. Will sound up, and Mushi is going to intercept through the Dire jungle. They are going to try and harass that. In fact, FBZ may actually be dead as BT Faded has the pull off stun, and that will actually be the first blood coming out for the Wraith King, followed by Xiao Yu going down the bot lane on the Sanking to Dream Assault.
Oh yeah. Just a lot of action across the map. I do love seeing this. Loves running at each other, of course. And I think, you know, if you go back to that mid lane, you mentioned the Slark matchup against the Alchemist. I think this is actually something the Alchemist is faking, just because of the presence he gets from Acid Spray. So Ben-Hur is going to have a harder time to contest the creep wave when it's in the right spot for Mikoto. And as long as Mikoto sprays that acid in a good spot, I can't see the Slark really trading too well. I mean, he's down to half HP, he still has regen on him, but just not going to be a pleasant time copying hits like that.
Definitely isn't. Still Ben-Hur having a decent old time, 17 and 2 in terms of last hits in comparison to the 17 and 0 of the Arc. Very even. The top lane, BT Faded, going to cop more harassment out from FBZ and Hyde now. Hyde's going to be as annoying as possible. In fact, a very nice cogs, and now with the Firefly, BT Faded should have no way out. Does go down, and that's one of the really susceptible parts about the Wraith King, John. There's just no escape mechanisms up until the point where you have reincarnated Faded.
Yeah, and even then, that's not really an escape. It's just a die again, in the most part, if you are stuck in a rough spot. And this is something that Boom ID is leveraging quite well. Like, this combination with the clock, just the control they're getting, the fact that Mushi cannot do too much to help VT Faded beyond the cookie toss is really hurting VT Faded's lane up here. He's 12 to 2 right now. Not the best spots for that Wraith King, and all that early farm is really important for this.
Look down at that bot lane where, you know, in comparison to VT Faded, Dream Assault is basically having a free lane right now. 24 and 5 on the Ember. You look at Xiao Yu, he really hasn't been able to shut him down at all. In fact, Dream Assault, he thought about pacing the Sand King down, thinks better of it, still had some creeps there, so he'll go secure some more CS. But this is going to be a real concern if you are CR. Like, you're losing that top lane, you've lost the bot lane, and mid lane is drawing even. So it kind of feels like all their chips are really stacked on the mid lane slot. But even then, you're up against an Alchemist who does tend to outscale anyway. BT Faded, however, top lane again will go down as FBZ had the cog set up from the clock, and now we'll see the rotation there from Ohio on the Earth Spirit. But he isn't able to connect the roll, and even if he did, I don't believe it would have ended up in a kill anyway. In fact, Ohio, you are moving in slow motion right now, sir. He will start to run away, FBZ, going to try and secure the other boundary room.
Radiant's top tower
In fact, he's just going to try and run. He'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that is the first time we've seen Ohio get a rotation out. Surprised to see him committed to the top lane. I think at this point, at least at this point in the game, you'd want to rotate on that Alk while he's weak. Instead, we are seeing Mikoto accelerate to that level 6 in a pretty good time. He's just about a couple of creeps away. And once that 6 is up, you're going to be missing out on any sort of kill opportunity on the Alk. It's just so much harder when he has that additional regen up and running.
Absolutely. Mikoto going to start jungle, although Ohio going to be there to try and intercept and interrupt this farm, though Cookie is going to be there from Mushi. They have 3 heroes around. Ben-Hur going to easily be able to help clean up, so Ohio will be the one to pick up the kill on the Earth Spirit. And that's a very important kill to find across the map. So you really need to shut down that Elk, otherwise, we've seen over and over again, they get out of control. But now Hyde, trying to jump onto Mushi on the snap. Looks like he won't have enough damage as the Cookie is going to come out from Mushi. But the fact that you've just forced 3 heroes to have to sit up top lane is always going to be a bit of a win here for Boom.
Definitely. Like, you are just giving Dreamosol a free lane down bot, and Xiaoyu's really just not keeping up too well on the Sand King either. So you're copying that bot lane to have a harder time than it already does. The top lane's really just not gaining too much, and you're starving your supports of EX.
Hyde just continuing to run at them on the clock, being very... BT baited!
Ooh. Ooh.
A very close call on that TP. The last ticks of the battery assault almost reaching, but not quite. BT faded, just TPing back to his T1 tower just to get within safety. Looks like he will have to try and just secure some neutral camps, and it can be a little bit hard when you've only got 2 skeletons active, but I suppose it can be done. Again, Mushi gonna get jumped on here by Hyde, but he'll use the Cookie again and just jump out of there. And I believe that's the 3rd Cookie in the row that he's had to commit just to get out of cogs. Mushi's slowly starting to run out of mana, thanks to Hyde on that clock, who hasn't even bothered rotating it. He's just very comfortable sitting up in this top lane.
Definitely. We have seen Snapfires actually be more aggressive in the lane. This is a case where you're really not seeing that. And with something like the Wraith King, you'd expect a bit more, but it's just a lane matchup. There's just so much the Batrider and Clockwork can do here, just so much control. Just one little misstep, the Cogs come out, the Firefly comes out, you're stacked up with Napalm. Really not much you can do, although Kedscute caught out.
Could be in trouble. In fact, he will be, as Ben-Hur's going to rotate. Xiaoyu with the bar strikes out, and Ben-Hur does pick up his first kill of the game on the slot. He's going to be feeling very nice about that, and that is 2 permanent agility stats for himself. They did secure the earlier out kill within the first 5 minutes, and well, now he will split out Hyde, although Hyde has a haste rune, but he found the real hero he wants. It's Mikoto on the out that he really wants to annoy. Mikoto won't even be able to finish off the jungle camps. To make matters worse for him, that jungle camp did have the keen optic on it, which now is going the way of the Slark. The bot lane Dreamosol is able to find Xiaoyu on the Sand King. That was basically just a solo kill. He just ran up to him, got the chains off, and killed him off.
This is the roll, so probably not going to be able to chase down Mikoto too far.
They'll try. Mikoto going to go for a TP. Pounce is available, however. The TP within vision, although was this a bait? It was not. They don't want to go after Ben-Hur. Mikoto is trying to farm neutrals, but Ben-Hur again not going to allow it. Now they'll roll in with Ohio with the boulder smash. But Mikoto with that chemical rage should just be perfectly fine. But if you are CR, you're just very, very happy with the fact that he's not farming.
Definitely, you're kind of delaying the farm of the Alk. At the same time, you're wasting a lot of time walking around this jungle, not finding those kills. You've left Dreamo with so much time to free farm, to find those solo kills himself. You've given this Bat Rider up top a free lane, so FBZ is going to have a good time onto his BO3s and Blink Dagger, as we mentioned before. It feels like you're not getting enough from CR at this moment where Boom should be a bit weaker. They're just not leveraging that hard enough. Kato?
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Can we chase down again? They won't secure the kill. They just slow him down. To be fair, he's not going to have that super fast Radiance time. It's we've hit the 10-minute mark and he's about 1.5k gold off just the Sacred Relic. So it's not going to be the fastest time we've ever seen from an Alchemist. But you already kind of talked about the fact that, you know, while they're chasing them down, it's not like Ben-Hur's been farming either. He's just been running around the map trying to find the answer. Top lane, FBZ, does get ganked up now, and BT Fade is the one to claim the kill. Ohio and Mushi now going to start rotating across the map and trying to maybe find Ben-Hur and stop this chase on their Alk.
Radiant's top tower is under
attack. Doesn't have big enough for high ground. Their boulder smash roll is not going to be there as it was cancelled by the battery assault, but now the cookie and the Mortimer's kisses. They risk nothing. They will just burst him down. But while that was happening, Zhao Yu dies once again to Dreamer Cell, and that's Dreamer Cell's third kill of the game. In fact, he's going to TP up top now. They're going to make a rotation here with the lasso onto the Raging BT. Faded does have reincarnation. They roll in Dreamer Cell. It does connect. We can advertise as well. Can they slow him down enough? It looks like they definitely can. Dreamer Cell dying and giving a lot of golden XP away to the side of CR. And I thought that was going to be bad for BT, but it looks like Boom ID weren't expecting him to have the early level and reincarnate.
Yeah, that's a bit strange. He was at the point where he'd have the extra points to dump into it anyway. So, again, a bit of an odd commitment coming out from Boom ID. Should show a bit of respect to that movement up there. They didn't quite have all the heroes available. In the end, though, every time you make a move like that, at the very least, Mikado is safe, although he's being by Ben-Hur. That should be fine.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
You know, you've got to give it to Ben-Hur as well on the slot. I mean, considering how much he's chased down this Alchemist across the map, his farm is actually pretty darn good.
Middle tower is under
still
attack.
sitting at almost 5k net worth now. Just about 1.4k behind the Alchemist 12 minutes in, which to me is exceptional.
Bottom tower is under attack.
He's really doing a fantastic job.
It's really good progress for Ben-Hur. I think all that activity across the map has paid off. All those early kills he's contributed to has given him a lot more. You still worry about Mikado. It's not the highest gap, but is inching towards that Radiance, and it's still looking to be a fairly decent timing, all things considered, with how much he's had to move across the map. So you're still looking at pretty good timings from Boom ID coming out. At the very least, CR isn't too far behind. Like, you look at VT Faded, despite his rough lane, he's at 4.k net worth as well, matching Dreamo Cell's farm, so he's actually in a pretty good spot. And Raking can start pumping damage up early. I do like his build-up as well. He's going for the armlet first, so he wants to play aggressive, he wants to be with his team, he wants to try shutting people down. In fact, a very late movement towards Dreamo.
Yeah, Dreamer Cell, they got the silence off, one of his kisses to fly out, but he remnants out. Magnetize, definitely not going to be enough damage, and Dreamer Cell will be fine. He'll just bottle up, but VT Faded, he's going to try and force in this tier 1 tower now. Dreamer Cell, he's shown himself, but he does have 2 remnant charges, so his bonus stuns coming out. Dreamer Cell wasn't ready for it. He wasn't expecting to roll in after the Wraith 5 last. Now top lane. They're going to try and go after FBZ to Zhao Yu. He really hasn't farmed the roll, and Makoya's there on the Alchemist. And Keskute will be the one to pick up the kill on the Oracle with the Purifying Flames. And so that makes it a 6 to 7. So I'd argue, John, finding that Ember Spirit and finding the bot Team 1 is certainly more valuable for the side of CR.
Definitely is. Like, the Ember Spirit's worth a lot more in gold, so trading away that hero is less favorable for Boom. They get control in that bot lane as well, so that's going to deny some farming area from Boom ID. They have some really good far forward wards here from CR, which will allow them to shut down the Alchemist much better. So Boom ID is losing some ground here. In fact, they have to really start rewarding their jungle if they want to keep that farming pattern up.
Look at Ohio. Hive does spot him out with the rocket flare. Boulder smash, they're going to connect on the Oracle, but he will just Fate's Edict, block out the scatter blast damage. But CR are starting to control up that Radiant side jungle now and take over that map control. They'll see Dream Missile down the bot lane. BT, can you get the stun off in
Dire's
time?
top tower is under attack.
Not quite, but you would do at least force them to run it back and, well, boom. Looks like they want to try and take back control of their own jungle. They will smoke up after D-Warding. Where are they headed though? They're going to loop all the way around
Dire are
that
scared.
east side jungle of the Dire and, well, they're going to run straight into CR. They just smoke up themselves, but it's immediately broken now. Revive to Hyde. Hyde blows up. Makoto, he'll be the next target on the Ultras, but I don't think he's big enough quite yet. Because Waterless Kiss is doing a lot of damage. Makoto gets stunned up. Do you have enough? They definitely do. Ben-Hur does also get another kill, I believe, in the back. And yeah, he found Kesku. It was a bit of a mess, but Boom ID moves out of that team fight.
They really do. They're starting to bleed a lot of ground here. Sure, you have the Radiance up on your Alch. You don't have level 6 on your Oracle just yet to really allow that Alchemist to just stand in front and get the damage out. So you're missing out on a lot of opportunities there by not having Kescute at 6. You need to give that Oracle some EXP to grow. And you need to be really cautious about these moves. They went for an aggressive movement after dewarding their jungle, after knowing that perhaps there were heroes in that side. They did see lane. They loop around. They were scanned out as well. Just took a really unfavorable fight. Rather unfortunate for Boom. Really good movements coming out from CR. And as long as they can keep that up, they're going to get a lot more in this game. They're behind by 1k. That doesn't say much when you're playing against an Alk. An Alk wants to be ahead by a lot more. So there is a 1k deficit in favor of Boom, but a lot of that is just on Mikoto.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Our covert invasion.
Well, I should keep punching him, boss. Your place is here.
Yeah, overall, a really even trade from both sides. A bit of a win for Boom IDS. In the end, they do get basically 3 kills, some reincarnation, Raid King, unfortunately not enough to kill him off a second time. But the Boom ID is still not winning out in these fights as much as they'd want. Like, CR is going to be happy with how these trades are going. They definitely do have control on the map. Are forcing Boom ID to try to play into their power right now. Like, you'd
Dire's
expect
middle tower
some
is
ways
under
to scout
attack.
out Mushi's Snapfire and stop that channeling on Mortimer's Kisses. They haven't been able to do so. They have to commit that hook shot on closer range targets or in bigger cores instead of scouting out with a rocket flare and stopping that. So every time the cogs comes down from her Clockwork, it's just the death trap for Hyde. Instead of trapping an enemy hero in, Mushi just aims straight at those cogs every single time, and that's always going to be an issue for Boom ID
Dire's
if they
top
don't
tower is
prioritize
under
finding
attack.
that Snapfire in the back.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Incoming.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen.
Catching with fire. Appreciate it. You could use more refined.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Captured in the
Damn,
flame.
I'm good. That's
Really just well timed coming out from Mikado, managing to catch that big
Radiant
clump up, and
are
that's something you
scanning.
have to be cautious about here from CR. They have been pretty good with their spacing beforehand. I guess they just did forget that that can happen. Of course, you have that BKB up and running on
Dire's
Mikado as well. He
middle
didn't have to
tower is
pop it in
under
that last
attack.
fight. He still has a full charge, and that's going to be a massive issue here for CR. A lot of that damage right now is going to be magical onto this tower. Oh man.
Swim for
What
it.
a treasure!
That was genius.
Double damage. What have they here?
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
Been really active on the map as the Alk. Again, he's already had pretty good timings on his items. He is really close towards his Assault Curious as well. Once that's up, you're going to have a hard time bringing him down. He has that BKB for the magic damage. He's going to have a good amount of armor to negate a few of the hits from the Slark and from that Wraith King. So your options do grow a bit limited. You will have to really just try to jump the Alk if you're going to be trying to aim him down, although early smoke is going to be broken by FMC.
Deserve a better death.
I'll not be held responsible for gross incompetence on your part.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Who's lighter, but not spirit?
Must be getting
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
You in hell.
Let death become peace. Burn away your ignorance. Behold my searing gaze. I am legend.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Bonded, you and I need better counsel.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Ought to take care of this fin, right?
Yeah, it's a strange choice. CR does, I believe, feel a bit of that pressure now. They are starting to lag behind Netfort, and that is a very good gap for the Alk now. It's 5k for his team, 17k on the Alk, 7k ahead of BT Faded. Oh god, Ben-Hur
Your shot
walking up.
has fallen to the radiant.
Didn't you hear me telling you to throw it? Rises must someday fall. Bury him somewhere beautiful.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, it's a loss for CR. I still question what they were trying to achieve. I get the Earth Spirit trying to roll in, but Ben-Hur was basically trying to just walk up into the pit. That was just rather strange. Perhaps in anticipation of follow-up to the Earth Spirit. Still, the rest of the team
Dire's
was kind
middle
of lagging
tower
behind
is
there, a
under
bit
attack.
optimistic. That one in this Aegis should allow Boom ID now to
Dire's
take a
middle
lot more
tower
objectives
has
off the map.
fallen.
They take that tier 1 mid, they can start taking over the jungle on the side of CR, start pressuring that tier 2 up top and the tier down mid, and really just start to
Dire's top
regain
tower
some
is
lost
under
map
attack.
control.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen.
Illusion.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
No, it definitely doesn't. I think the Great King's in a weird spot because he's one of those heroes that enjoy the Maelstrom as well. It can still itemize fairly well, but the damage output definitely does. Less than Lucy now being caught out.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Jackpot.
All mine.
Rock it on.
I'll take that.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's
Never
bottom
refuse
tower
school.
has fallen.
Boom, there it goes.
I don't like where this is going.
Gotcha. I'm making this a spice.
Wicked snake.
Tell the ogre you're sorry.
Yeah, this is a bit of an issue for CR. They go for a fight elsewhere. They sacrifice their Sand King as he has been constantly sacrificed this entire game. However, with that movement up top, they just lose a tier 2 objective on their bot lane. So they've only got now as their last outer tower. And that just means Boom ID is free to run around the entire map. Like, even Roshan's going to be a very easy objective to take once it respawns. Still have the Aegis to play around with on Mikoto as well. He does have the finished recipe for the Abyssal Blade on top of that, so once that flies out, he can basically burst anyone down.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant are scanning. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Dire's courier has been killed. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, you've
Radiant
got all the tools
structures are
available.
fortified.
Got basically everyone set up, and the high ground defense is going to be hard to pull off for CR, although they can.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Rock it on.
Your spirit alone continues. Behold my searing
My armor.
Yeah, that's a big sacrifice to make there, and I don't think he really needed to buy back anyway. Like, fell back even before then. After losing that Aegis, they still managed to force that out, so CR is going to be on a bit of a back foot here. They're going to have to be a bit cautious with V Faded. They do smoke up though. They want to try to maximize his downtime. They know the clockwork's not there to scout them out or block them out with way. Information on the map to make a very good rotation. Oh man.
Guys? Your place. Double kill.
That's a dieback on VT Faded, so bought back for no real contribution to that defense. Does get punished for it. And a big opening here for Boom ID. They could just try to go again for that high ground. There's no objectives outside that they could take. Roshan is still about a minute away until we find out when he's actually going to respawn. So there's really nowhere else for Boom ID to be but in that high ground, and they are going to start applying some pressure.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Chained in searing heat comes to birth before.
We're a little bit good.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Oh!
Throw me back.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen. Dire's middle barracks are under attack. Dire's middle barracks has fallen. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, no,
Dire's
you
top tower
probably can't.
is
Like, the
fallen.
epicenter is gone, the kisses are down for about a minute. You're gonna lack damage with just VT
Dire's
fading in
top
front.
barracks
You're gonna
are
have to
under
accept at
Dire's
least 2
top
racks
barracks
down
has fallen.
to save your tier 4s and last set of racks. I don't think Boom ID is gonna be going for that, although Mikoto?
That's company go.
Ultimate order. Death has no grip on me.
Oh,
Behold, my Syrian type.
Nice. Incoming. No self-load me. Whoa, sick.
Radiant victory.
yeah, that... Yeah, no, it was a bit...
5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
5
We are here
seconds
for
remaining.
game number 2 between CR and Boom Esports.
Radiant
It is
team
MLP
back.
Dota and John Expired. John, we saw game number 1, Boom Esports. They finished the game and won in about, I believe it was 31, 32 minutes. It did look like quite a dominant victory
Dire
for
team back.
Boom Esports. I'd like to ask you, where do you think CR went wrong in game 1?
I think CR gave a lot of space towards Mikato there. I don't think they applied enough pressure from the laning phase. They had the Earth Spirit. You'd expect a few earlier moves down mid, maybe while the Alchemist is at level 3, level 2, level 4. Instead, they only really started making moves on Mikado
10
as soon as he hit
seconds
6.
remaining.
That just felt a little bit too late to slow down his progression any meaningful
5
way.
seconds
That entire
remaining.
time as well, they were prioritizing Ben Hur's lane. They did shaft Xiao Yu's lane instead. They couldn't really get too much value from their Sand King. And I think all of that really played a big part of why Boom Esports managed to set the pace of that game. They just got way too much from their Alchemist pick, and you can see CR actually reacting to that in the bans. They
Radiant
banned the
team
Alch. Now
ban.
that's something you really don't see too
Dire
often, but
team ban.
Mikado did have a great game 1. They don't want to have to deal with that or even think about it any longer and just put it out. I have to say I'm surprised the Oracle's being allowed true, as I feel like that was a big part of what allowed Boom Esports to really just keep that aggression going anyway.
Yeah, look, I'd have to agree with you on that. Boom Esports, of course, I mean,
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team pick.
get up to in this draft, as it is about to begin, and they have already gotten rid of the Alchemist this time, so we won't have to see anything like that popping out. CR,
Ember Spirit.
they'll take the Ember Spirit for themselves this
Dire team
time.
pick.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like, again, we talk about the Ember being a high value hero. It just goes in and out quite fast. I love the reaction from Boom Esports, though. The Pugna, probably not the best one. Like, it can be bursted down by the Ember Spirit, although you can burst the Ember back, burn through that shield quite fast, and punish any sort of movement from him, reducing his spam ability with a Nether Ward. The Beastmaster, in and of itself, does give you a great way of keeping that
10
Ember Spirit in
seconds
control. You have a solid stun to ensure that you get enough
5
time to
seconds
whack that
remaining.
Ember Spirit. I think that's going to be a great tool against that. You also have great push potential with a Beastmaster Pugna. This is going to melt these towers fast. The Beastmaster summons will melt those towers fast as well. You've got great vision with those Flying Hawks. So a lot of value from this opening from Boom Esports. I think it undoes a lot of what the Ember Spirit wants to bring here.
Duo is... They have gone into their reserve time for this one. It's just funny because we were doing a podcast just about 30 minutes ago, John, and I was talking about how powerful I think Pugner is right now in this meta. And well, CR, they will go into another very powerful pick, one you brought up. The Oracle comes out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that hero slid through the bans. It does look like CR is going to try to make Boom Esports draft work against them. So you've got the Ember Spirit Oracle now on their side, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can have that same impact, right? They have a great way of sustaining the Ember Spirit, or any hero really. Still kind of touch up their entire draft to really build off that durability that the Oracle brings. You've got great ways of mitigating the Pugna's damage now as well. So that's going to be really helpful, since you are going to be worried about that damage coming out, and you have a way of counteracting that Beastmaster stun with the Oracle. So all of this is going to be playing in hand. I love the back and forth in this draft, trying to undo what the other side is doing. I think in the end, this is still looking pretty favorable for Boom ID. Sure, you mitigate the burst potential from the Beast and Pugna. You are not slowing down their push.
Certainly feels that way. I'm sure there's a bit more push coming if CR aren't too careful. Of course, you still have options like the Lycan if Boom Esports wanted to pick that up. It definitely has been nerfed quite a bit over time, that's for sure, but with the lineup you've already seen coming out of Boom Esports, you add a Lycan on top of that and they're just running over you. Like, it's no question about that. Boom, take a bit more time. Third pick now. They don't want to reveal too much too early.
Radiant team pick.
Silencer.
Okay. Silencer comes out. That's it fits, right? You've already got an Ember, you've already got an Oracle, you get that global silence out, and suddenly things become a hell of a lot harder for CR.
Definitely. It's just really good to ensure the team fights work in Boom Esports' favor. You're always going to have that upper hand as long as you start with that silencer, you start with that global silence, all your follow-ups not going to have an issue afterwards. You have great scalability with that silencer as well. If you play aggressive, and Boom Esports does play aggressive, you can really start stacking up on the int, growing really big off of that. So I would like to see maybe a bit more of an aggressive support coming out with that silencer. This is one of the cases where if the Tusk wasn't banned out, that would be perfect, but you should still look for a pretty strong laning partner if you are going to run this as a support. Should really escalate fast if you do invest in it. CR, they do pick up the Tiny for themselves. You have a great burst potential coming out, decent control from CR. We have seen Tinies actually do a fair bit of work despite not being the most popular here anymore. I think there is still some potential in that. It is going to be interesting to see it match up against what Boom Esports does have. Like, they can burst the Pugna very fast. That's the main target in mind. A blink avalanche toss onto the Pugna to take him out immediately is going to be extremely effective, or the silencer. Either targets are pretty squishy. You have a way of tearing through that backline. You will need to build your Tiny up though, like invest in a blink before that can really happen in a consistent manner. Beyond that, of course, the Tiny is just going to give you that much stronger laning presence. Still keen to see what it partners with in lane. We don't quite know that yet, but Boom Esports does pick up a Morphling. They do have that leeway with the Tiny being revealed. It's going to be a bit challenging playing the Morphling into the Oracle. You have to be cautious about being disarmed by the Oracle if ever they do decide to just play it that way. Otherwise, you can morph into Tiny for a bit more damage there, just having that additional burst on top of your own kit. You can morph into the Ember Spirit as well. A lot of good targets to turn into. Even the Oracle is pretty potent. Like, you don't get access to the ult, but Oracle's first skills are really strong anyway. So just from that vantage, this Morphling is going to be really useful for Boom Esports.
Well, I can't disagree with you on that. It already looks like a very, very powerful pick here for Boom. CR, they need to come up with some answers here, because it's looking worse and worse as this draft goes on for them.
I speak for the tree.
They'll go for the Nature's Prof. I don't think that necessarily deals with the Morphling, but perhaps just a comfort pick for CR. Of course, we do know the Prophet is a very, very potent hero in this current meta, especially if you do run it as a core, which I do believe CR is intending to. It can really just snowball out of control, John, and
10 seconds.
it's just very hard to control with that global presence.
Definitely. So you've got
5
high
seconds
mobility in that
remaining.
Ember and Nature's Prophet. Can go around causing chaos on the map.
Radiant
That
team
is something we
back.
have to see from CR. I would like to see them to be a bit more active with this kind of setup. You would want a little bit more activity, especially in that early game. That's the key time when Boom is going to be vulnerable, especially that Morphling. That's going to be the target you aim for. Ensure the Morph doesn't have that good start, and you can kind of keep him in his place the entire game, but you have to invest in getting the rotations onto that Morph every single time.
10
Should be easy
seconds
enough for the
remaining.
NP. No matter what lane he's in, he can just dip in, ensure the Morphling gets taken
5
out,
seconds
and dip back
remaining.
out. Of course, the the Nature's Prophet pickup does allow CR to have some push
Radiant
potential as
team
well.
pick.
They can get a split push out going for themselves. They have a decent way of counteracting that push from Boom Esports now.
CR. Final pickup. Plenty of reserve time if they want to have a think about this, and I have a feeling they may want to have a think about it because I still think they have fallen behind in their draft. Don't know. They'll go for the PL, and to be absolutely fair, there's no real hard counter towards the PL this game from Boom Esports, apart from, you know, maybe the Pugner, you could argue. But I don't think the PL should have too rough of a game, assuming Boom doesn't have some amazing last pick.
Yeah, it does look like a very
10
good
seconds
Phantom Lancer
remaining.
game. No direct counters here for Boom. They don't really have the best wave clear
5
so far. I
seconds
mean, Pugna
remaining.
can wave clear, but once those Phantom Lancer illusions start to tank up, you're really going to struggle to melt them down. It's going to be hard to isolate that real hero as well. So options are limited. Like, Sports won't be able to pick an Ember because it's out of the pool. They do go
Choose
with the
your
DK in
hero.
response. So they've got some way of splashing through those illusions as you do scale on. The Breathing Fire is going to be very useful in that sense as well. But it is a bit of a tricky one for Boom Esports. They can still play aggressively. They don't really need to worry about the Phantom early on. It's going to be a major threat until 15 to 20 minutes in. That is something Boom Esports can play around. At the same time, if they don't get a big enough lead by then, even if Mikado gets very, very big, it's going to be hard to play up against a properly set up Phantom Lance. As long as he has enough illusions coming out from him in the middle of a fight, you're not going to be able to isolate the real one, and he's going to be able to tear through your backline entirely.
That Dragon Knight though, John, it does add even more push potential here for Boom, right? Like they've got a Beastmaster, Pugner, and DK. It's, if you could get the PL, Ember, and Prophet up to scratch, if you can get to that late game stage, then that's when you start saying Boom might be in trouble. Early on though, I still sit there and I'm very afraid for CR's draft because it does take a lot more time to really be online.
Definitely. Like, again, the PL's not going to be an issue until 15 to 20 minutes in. You're going to need some farm on Ben-Hur, and you really have to give Xiao Yu some space to get big as well. He shafted a lot last game. You're going to have to try to give them good enough farm at the same time, maintaining that pressure. So CR has to choose its targets right. They have to know which lane they're going to have, because Boom Esports will make it hard to win every single lane. You're going to have to accept one of the lanes is going to go rough. So they've got to prioritize here. Are they going to give Xiao Yu the harder
Prepare for
lane?
battle.
Are they going to give Ben-Hur the harder lane? Or are they just going to give give VT Faded the hard lane? Because this other resources up, and I'm sure Boom Esports will try to respond in kind. It's going to be an interesting back and forth in game.
Well, we do see the betting odds for this map 2 winner up on the screen now, and Boom is sitting again the heavy favorites in this matchup. And this, after game 1, you're not really too shocked by that. CR definitely looking a bit better with this draft, and if they could just kind of wait out the storm that is coming from Boom, they may be able to force this to a game number 3. And of course, that's what we're hoping for, because we just want to watch some more Dota. Really, I'd rather just it never ends. It was up to
30
me, John, but
seconds to battle.
unless of course it's a Tinker Arc Warden game, in which case it will literally never end, and I don't want to watch that crap. It's it's Tinker Arc Warden. But
Don't forget the techies there. That would really never end.
true. None of that though. like Ohio is going to be in position here. He does have a nice toss targets here in Kezcute. He could toss it into his heroes,
The
but
battle begins.
they haven't got so much kill potential here against the 3 Boom. Instead, he will go ahead, steal that bounty rune off the side of Boom ID. Could be a 2-for-2 trade, nothing too special.
I don't think we mentioned it.
Way up.
Didn't mention this, but Mikado is actually playing mid in that Morphling, and we're gonna see Dreamosel up top on the DK. Bit of a shake-up here. Mid Morphling against the mid Ember.
Fair enough. It's not something you see too often, but I guess you can't really disagree with it. If you are Makoto, like, you should have a slight advantage on that Morphling. And even Kezcute kind of just dipping into the mid lane for a bit and trying to harass out the Ember. Not too sure what the point of that was, but he did show up.
Yeah, it's a strange shakeup. I don't think the EK up against the Ember would have been bad, and I don't particularly think that the Morphling up against Nature's Prophet would have been too rough as well. So looks like they just don't want any of that rotating potential from Ohio for the toss targets to be out there, and want to give the Morphling a fairly decent 1v1 lane.
I mean, he does have very, very high base attack when you get the Agi shift going. So it seems like that's the way you're going to harass Ben-Hur out. Even though he gets close for the Flame Gun, as you saw, he just one adaptive strike and it's gone. It's always very nice to watch that happen, and Makoto can always just juggle his HP, make it very difficult for Ben-Hur. In fact, he goes for more adaptives, and you look how low Ben-Hur's getting. Just have to be careful. He will commit the salve, Makoto. Won't have the waveform, so he can't waveform in and cancel that one off. Overall, it looks to be a very, very nice start for Boom ID once again, though. You look up at that top lane now. Dreamosel and Kezcute up against Xiaoyu on that Prophet. You kind of mentioned it already, but the DK really shouldn't have too much trouble in this lane. Like, I can't imagine Xiaoyu being able to force him out with the Tiny.
Nah, definitely not. Like, it would take a pretty good toss from Ohio to get that done.
There's a toss into the creeps, but it's going to cop a lot of damage out of this. Kezcute going to be there with the follow-up, and Ohio may be dead. In fact, Dreamosel does find it with the Breathe Fire, and it's really that easy.
Was a bit optimistic to try to get that toss off. I mean, he's trying to get the pull, but committing the toss after getting the Arcane Chris on top was gonna be painful no matter what, and he does pay for it with his life. At the very least, Ohio does a reset, but you know, Tiny's one of those low-end heroes that every single point lost, that something like a silencer is gonna hurt his pool. As a support, that limits your spamming of spells, and that's always gonna hurt your viability.
That's very true. And Kezcute's just going to be very, very annoying on this silencer. See how many more kills he can try to rack up and how much more in he can find. Of course, down at the bot lane, VT faded on the PL with Mushi up against FBZ and Hyde. FBZ, or VT faded, I should say, is having a very, very nice time on the PL. Currently sitting at 19-0. So seemingly not much they can really do to slow down yet. Though I've got to say, John, once you get to that level 5 mark on the Beastmaster, those level 3 bulls, they really start to hurt. Though mid lane, both heroes are dropping very, very low. Makoto and Ben-Hur going at it. Both will survive for now. Top lane Ohio, he'll find Kezcute on the silencer. And Ben-Hur and Makoto, they will get out with their lives intact.
Yeah, just a lot of back and forth that can happen with these two heroes now. You will have to wait for Makoto to shift out and pop his salve at some point. Though he does get a rotation, just to relieve some of that pressure. Kezcute coming in for a couple of right clicks, and this is, you know, so far a bit of a better game for CR. I'd have to say, sure, right now Boom is winning out in 2 of the lanes, but they are giving VT Favored a much better time in the bot lane, although he is getting a lot of damage in now.
Yeah, VT getting slowed down by those boars and Hyde. In fact, it's FBZ to pick up the kill with the boar damage. And that's what we were talking about, John. As the levels go up on FBZ, those boars really start to hurt. And they do slow for a substantial amount. And when you have a Pugner there with the Nether Blast and Decrepify to follow up with the damage, you could really lose a lot of HP very quickly.
Definitely. It's something that you have to be cautious about, especially when you do go 1-1-1 on a PL. So that cooldown on Doppelganger level 1 is pretty long. And that's something Boom ID can play around FBZ, finding an opportunity for a lot more damage in. Does manage to secure that kill. Still, CR is having a better time than game 1. They are, at the very least, finding the last hits on their cores. The only real lane that's kind of tapered off a bit is that mid lane. Mikato is quite a fair bit ahead in terms of denies. That's really what's setting him apart from Ben-Hur right now. Beyond that, I'd say it's a much more even time than game 1, at least in the side lanes, and that could spell the difference here. They have to ensure that Phantom Lancer VT Faded does get what he needs bot lane. Like seeing that Mushi's just sitting still there. There is no real need to rotate down mid. We've been seeing Boom ID really doing that more with Kezcute, just to ensure that Mikato doesn't die, and it has been a worthwhile investment. This is something Boom needs to maintain, just keeping the Morphling alive, ensuring that he doesn't taper too far behind in terms of that early game. Once they ride through that weak phase of the Morphling, he can kind of farm up by himself in the jungle. That is what Boom ID should be aiming for. Like, they're gonna have to give that jungle space to him. Primo Salt's not gonna need it at the very least. The DK is a bit less farm reliant in that sense, so they can play with their farm distribution.
Stop you. Careful what you claim. Pull roots and run. The flames rush forth.
We'll get back into it. The pause is finally over. Ben-Hur and Makoto still going at it in the mid lane. Very even though in terms of CS. Just keeping up with each other as it looks like Ben-Hur is going to activate a haste rune and start running up top. But he'll just secure both bounty runes up at the top lane while Mushi does get hide on the Pugna. And it was only Mushi alone just finding the support Pugna pickup. And that's the thing with an Oracle, you know, he has hit level 4. When you've got level 2 Purifying Flames, you really can't underestimate how much damage they do.
Definitely, it's a lot of damage that can fly out from Oracle now, and that should allow him to at least have a little bit more presence against Hyde. You know, that's the one thing with a Pugna. Really squishy, doesn't get too much HP by himself. That is very easy to punish.
Bot lane, they're going to try onto the PL. The VT Faded does have an early level on Doppelganger now, and he'll be fine. Thing is, with that one level on Doppelganger, the cooldown is very long, so keep an eye out on Boom, because once they see it go, may make a secondary jump if VT Faded does come back in for a CS. Especially once you have the Primal Roar up, that's when things get very dangerous. So there is going to be a rotation from Ohio on the Tiny, but Ohio is dropping a lot faster than he's actually getting anybody, and he will go down to Hyde, and now BT Faded. He'll try to go after FBZ, but can't keep up with that ball slow, and now Xiao Yu tries to do the same thing onto Hyde, but they just aren't able to catch up. And instead, they may find Kezcute and Do on the Silencer. So ultimately, it will be a 1-for-1 trade. The if I may add, John, that was, I believe, another 2 points in stolen for the Silencer.
Yeah, just a little bit more going the way of Kezcute there. They do force an early rotation out from Xiao Yu, but that is something you should expect from Nature's Prophet. Is free to get rotations around the map by nature of your hero. Still, I don't think you're going to be too upset if you're either side. You are just trading rather light targets here. That time investment is a bit more in CR though. Like, they rotated Ohio earlier on as well, and the Tiny is definitely not getting as much EXP as you'd like. Still stuck at level 2 at the 7-minute mark. He's gonna need a lot more on the Tiny before he can start pumping that damage out.
That 7.5 minute mark now, and of course the neutral items have started dropping. Gonna spot out Hyde on the river, but Makoto's gonna be there just in case he needs it.
Bound.
Both teams just taking it slow, right? We need more farm up on these cores, and they're not really the kind of cores that can just start running at you and start making plays. Each team does really need some farm up, and it's going to be a much slower pace this game for sure than the last game. Ohio has been left at the top lane by himself, so he does get some nice XP on the Tiny. Does now hit that level 4 mark. Of course, Xiao Yu feeling more than happy to just rotate around the jungle now on that Nature's Prophet. In fact, he does rotate bot where Hyde is starting to get low. Primal Rule is committed by FBZ, and now the Decrepify on Hyde will allow him to walk away from VT Faded alive. And so although they do get the Primal Rule committal, they will not be able to claim a kill with this Xiao Yu rotation, but they are going to try and force in a tier 1 tower.
I don't think that's going to go too fast with you know, Hyde still around for the Nether Blast. Like, the creeps are just going to die.
That they are.
So again, you see CR trying to rotate in, right? Drag in Xiao Yu across the map to try to find those kills. It's not paying off yet. Like, I like the pressure coming out, but it doesn't feel like they're applying the pressure on the right target. You'd expect them to keep a Morphling who can't really do too much right now in his place, but once again, Mikoto is kind of just allowed to bully out Ben-Hur and take control of that lane. He is at 68 to 21 compared to Ben-Hur's 4. He's scaling quite well, has his Morbid Mask up, can really just start farming the jungle now if he wished, and I think you're going to see a pretty good time on this Morphling's E-Blade if he decides to rush that first.
Top lane, Dream Assault does actually give away the outpost. He was trying to defend it, but CR, they just stick to it and they do get it before the 10-minute mark. So some nice XP denial coming out from CR. You know, in this kind of game, that XP does seem rather important for both teams. And, CR can gain quite a bit of a level advantage if you do allow that to happen a couple more times.
Definitely. It's something that Boom has to watch out for, but it's very easy for CR to get that done, right? They've got the NP, they've got the Ember Spirit. You guys can close the gap much easier. They don't have anything like the clock this time around for Boom, so really just a bit harder to get across the map there, whatever.
Mid lane, Boom, they're just pushing into T1. A huge Nature's Wrath coming up, but now Dream is so will pop the Dragon form. Still Ben-Hur gonna just commit slide of and try to push them back, but that T1 is basically already dead. Dream Assault does manage to claim it. Ben-Hur wasn't able to get the deny off, and now they go up top. They'll defend their top T1 up against Xiao Yu. That's a great pickup from Boom that really opens up the map here for this Dire side.
It's going to allow them to dip into that opposing jungle if they wanted to. It gives a bit less control towards CR. They have been playing this one a bit more passively, though. I don't see that control giving them a bit more than you'd expect. I think they're just going to take it a bit slow, wait for Mikoto to be ready, wait for a couple more items on FBZ before really going for the commitment. Although Mikoto now...
trouble. CR gonna move in Ohio with the Avalanche, but Mikoto is strength morphing. He is a rather tanky target, and they will not be able to burst down fast enough. However, bot lane, Ben-Hur, he does lose his own life. FBZ finding the Primal Rule on that Ember Spirit, and they will be able to claim that bot T1. So a very even T1 trade between the two. However, you're not going to like losing your Ember if you are CR.
Definitely. That's one of the targets that should be defending at the very least. All of this is coming with VT Faded getting pretty free farm for himself. Up top, he's not really been contested in that jungle, so they are prioritizing that PL for the most part. And I think in that case, at the very least, it's much more defined in what they want from these lanes.
Missile finds a stun here. Xiao Yu gonna get the life drained out of him. They don't really find the kill onto that Prophet. Xiao Yu will be able to continue to defend, but we saw this in game 1. They just maintain control now over the opposing side jungle, and forces VT Faded to go up towards that Dire side jungle, but it's a lot more dangerous there as Kezcute is going to scout him out. That'll force VT Faded to topple away and just trying to go back to his own jungle. FBZ going to be sprouted down to that bot lane, but they aren't going to risk trying to go after him. They'll just walk away. And speaking of FBZ though, he does have Primal Roar up again. So this could be a very dangerous point for CR if they do get caught out here by the Beastmaster, who is actually trying to Ancient right now. It looks like at least for now FBZ and the rest of Boom are planning to wait.
They're not quite in position to try to get anything done yet. They are on that enemy jungle, but pretty spread out in that area. Not going to have the easiest way to find that pickoff. I think all they really want to do is force out that lane, try to gather the attention of CR to the bot lane, free up the space for everyone else to find farm. Mainly Mikato has not had any rotation onto him in a while, and even Kezcute has space up top to farm up a bit. A fairly decent distribution of farm here from Boom ID.
Mid lane, Ben-Hur trying to push it in a bit up against Dreamer Cell, but Dreamer Cell just happily pushes the back.
Regeneration.
You know, I've got to tell you, I've been watching Ohio quite a bit on this Tiny. Doesn't seem like the Tiny pickups led to anything as of yet. They'll smoke up now and try to make something happen across the map. But again, I mean, Kezcute, he's going to be a very easy target to go after. You are going to see the rotation from Zhao Yu, and they are going to claim the pos 5 kill. That was 4 heroes for a position 5, but it looks like they're okay with it as long as they can try to set up on this bot tier 2 tower, and that's exactly what they intend to do. The only problem is you're still trading with FBZ. He could just take this tier 2 tower himself if he really wants, and seeing that they're not backing up here at the top lane, it looks like that's exactly what they intend. In fact, never mind, Boom is actually defending that top tier 2 now, and they're going to force the rotations down on Mikoto, where Mikoto trying to get out. Primal Roar will be there with the Global Silence onto the Ember. Mikoto still trying to get out of there. Waveform, and he will morph into the Tiny with a nice avalanche just on top of those steps. And he's out. Beam Missile's going to be there to help him if necessary, and in fact, Dragon Form is going to be popped high. Right behind them on the Pugna, Spirit Vessel is going to melt Dream Missile quite quick now. The Dragon needs help. They will chain up, but the chains do miss completely, and Dream, he looks like he wants to go back in. But he does think better of it. He backs off. And CR, they don't really find anything. So they're going to try to go after that tier 1 mid now. You've got that Diffusal Blade up onto VT Faded. That is a rather nice power spike for him. Avalanche gonna be there. Dream Missile again being healed up by Hyde. He does just Shadow Blade. They drop a sentry, however, and they should be able to claim the kill, and they finally do. The Dragon Knight does go down.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Should give them the tier 1 mid, and does, but they trade away their tier 2 bot. Does finally find that tower in exchange. That's a bit of a bigger win for Boom. That will allow them, again, free access to that bot jungle. They did manage to kill off the DK, which is a bit of a loss for Boom and a bit of a win for CR in the end, but they spent a lot of time just trying to kill off Mikato and Dreamo Cell. I think it really was, considering what they lost in the bot lane, not too terrible for a trade for Boom. And again, they're still farming up on their Morphling. Mikato is just one part away from that E-Blade. I think that's when we can expect a little bit more coming out from Boom ID. Are just about 700 gold away from that item. So once that's up, they can start to tear through and start to force fights. They are giving VT Fade a lot of space for himself to get big. As you mentioned, he already has that Diffusal Blade up. It looks like he is queuing another one up. I'm not sure if he's going to finish that, but he is going to be going for the Manta next, and that's just going to make it so much harder to get the proper lockdown onto this hero.
BZ. Smoke up now and trying to find a pick off, although they really would have loved the PL, but he's already TP'd out. And CR, they seem to know something is a little right here, and they're probably not going to stick around very long. I'm just going to stay in that tree line, and you've got to be slightly worried because you know you do have access to those Beastmaster Hawks. Instead, however, Boom are going to push the tier 1, and you've got CR in the backlines waiting to come in if necessary. Boom. They try to jump onto Xiao Yu, but here comes the cavalry straight through the backside. Global Silence will be committed. Kesku gonna TP out. Now the Primal Roar from FBZ on the Ember, but where's the follow-up damage? They may have it now with the chains. Ben-Hur, he does finally drop, but you've lost Dreamer so on the Dragon Knight, and it looks like that'll be the end of that. A 1-for-1 trade. Maybe they find Ohio. Makoto has the Ethereal Blade, but the Fate's Edict will block out the adaptive strike damage. Now Makoto, a bit of a sitting duck. He tries to man fight, but it's not going to be enough. He does tick out. And CR, they take a very successful team fight for themselves.
Yeah, they get the targets they really want from that exchange. They only drop her Ember, which is still a bit of a loss, but not as big of a loss as what Boom Esports did have to trade for that. Losing both their Morphling and their DK once more. Big targets to take out here for CR. That was the E-Blade reveal coming out from Mikado as well. Really surprised. He got the shot off, he couldn't get the adaptive strike off. And when he finally did, it was while the Fate's Edict was on, so he couldn't even get that done. It's a bit of a missed opportunity with that reveal. There is going to be a massive window for Boom ID where they're vulnerable here. They're not going to have any sort of defensive item on Mikado anytime soon, and this is something CR can play around with quite well. They're just slowly building up, and it doesn't feel like Boom ID has the response needed to stop this progression from CR, right? Like they are not stopping VT Faded from getting his farm up. They aren't stopping Ben-Hur from getting his farm up. Everything is kind of lining up here for CR. They are getting control on the map, playing quite well. Boom just can't find the targets they want. They do kind of lack control in a certain way. Like once that global silence is down, they are vulnerable.
Might fight again. Hyde looking to move in there with Makoto, but the whole of CR are basically there waiting. Ben-Hur, he pops a DD. He wants to fight as Hyde. May blow up. He barely survives. They've lost Mushi, however, on the Oracle. And now, boom. They're going to feel confident to keep moving in. But how do you catch anyone?
Is under attack.
It's all up to FBZ on the Beastmaster to get a Primal Roar off, but he doesn't find one. And with that, you've lost an Oracle. You back off with your CR, and nothing else comes out of it for Boom.
I think overall, again, CR is going to be pretty okay with that trade. Just giving out an Oracle for that, not the biggest issues in the world. And Boom ID are still trying to force out fights without any of their big spells up. And at the very least, they have the Global Silence up. So if they wanted to make a move, this would be the moment. They have the Global Silence, they have Aurora up. They do not have Dragon Form, though, as they did have to blow that earlier on. So perhaps wait out for that to be back up before getting any sort of moves on. Otherwise, just try to farm up in Mikado. That's the key thing. Once this Morphling has a BKB, it's going to be a bit easier for him to get the damage up. Before that, it's just a big
Xiaoyu, rather Hyde, gonna get jumped on here on the Pugna. Still, they turn around on Ohio and they do find a kill, but now Xiaoyu comes in behind. They did get Hyde as a trade, but Makoto, he's a bit more of a tanky target again, and he does manage to walk out of there. Still a 1-for-1 trade. While all that was happening, you've got to keep an eye out on VT Faded, who is still basically freely farming this map. Now sitting at almost 10k net worth. He's very, very close to finishing off. What is he buying? Is that a... What is he buying?
Perhaps a... I don't know, is he going for an SNY at this point? Could be.
Not something you're used to seeing, but it looks like it may be an SNY as Dreamer Cell gonna get jumped on mid lane with that Spirit Vessel. He melts so darn quick, but now the Primal Roar FBZ will save the day, but no, VT Faded, he is not done. He wants the Dragon Knight. Makoto, however, he already blows up Mushi. Now the Decrepify will save Dreamer Cell, and they move in. They want to clean up. They found FBZ. The Beastmaster should not survive and doesn't. Xiao Yu trying to block the way, apparently, for his team. Kescute being dived on by those PL illusions, and VT is looking for another target.
Dire's top tower is under
Makoto
attack.
does manage to TP away on the Morphling, and we'll see another 1-for-1 trade But this time around,
Dire's
you lost your
bottom
Oracle,
tower
but you
is
found
under
a
attack.
Beastmaster. You're very happy with that if you are
Dire's
CR.
structures are
Definitely.
fortified.
These back and forth skirmishes
Radiant's
are
bottom tower
really
is
starting
under
to
attack.
give CR a lot more to play
Dire's
with here
bottom
than
tower
you'd
is
expect.
under
Boom
attack.
has just been really playing a
Dire's
lot more
bottom
passive than
tower
we're
has
used to seeing
fallen.
from this team. Just trying to farm up, trying to take it slow, but they are bleeding a lot of ground towards CR. This is something they have managed to definitely use their advantage. You see VT faded. He finishes up his SNY. So he's got that up and running on top of his diffuse hold. Just a lot tankier, a lot more damage coming out from this PL than you'd expect. And again, that's not something Boom is ready to deal with just yet. They don't have the best of wave clear right now on their heroes. They don't have the best of ways of isolating VT. And that's going to be a continuous issue now. We talked about it from the draft, like 15 to 20 minutes is when the PL picks up. We are past that point. I'd say VT Faded is definitely up there and has been ready to go for a while, is building towards a Satanic as well. Once that's up and running, you have no way of actually killing off this PL. Like, you have way too much HP on top. All you can really hope is to maybe catch him out with the global silence up and stunning him from there.
We'll see once again. They'll smoke up as 3. Ben-Hur trying to bait them in that mid lane. Ohio. Smoke gonna be broken on Kescue.
Silence
Not
is broken.
the kill they wanted, but they'll have to suffice. Top lane, however, Xiao Yu being chased down. This could be a nice bait here from Xiao Yu. The rest of his team is there to back him up, and FBZ, he'll start cutting the trees down as Makoto will just TP away, and the Beastmaster will have to run through the woods. But they do ping him out. They know he's around there somewhere. That is a nice ball block in those woods to actually not allow anyone through. And he's going for a TP. Ohio doesn't get the avalanche off in time, and what a play coming out from the Beastmaster, FBZ. I have never seen that block before.
Yeah, it's a solid area to block. I think that's one of the major trophy points, and does manage to get away, but they will have to give the Roshan away for that escape. They did scan it out. They are going to try to make a move. It is not dropping as fast as you'd expect.
The rune of invisibility.
It's going to be able to be defended. Hyde looking to try and pop Mushi, but Fate's eating. Will save and still prime roll from FBZ, and now they look to blow him up and do Makoto. He claims the kill. They do end up rooting down this Ember Spirit. Can they finish him off in time? Global Silence still silencing him up, and he is going to die as now Xiao Yu comes in, but he is surrounded. Do they have the damage output? Hyde going after BT Faded. They'll turn around on this Pugna, but he just decrepifies himself and runs away. They can't kill anyone. They'll try to Dreamer Soul now. The DK is falling low, but FBZ spamming those axes, keeping them at bay. And VT is still looking for another target. Makoto looks to turn around now as he tries to shotgun down the PL, but it's not quite enough. Still, he gets the chains off on the PL. VT, False Promise will save his life for now as he does run away. A very close call there for CR as they almost lose their position 1 PL. They will end up losing Mushi and the Ember. And that is certainly still bad news for them, as Mushi did end up having to buy back on the Oracle.
Yeah, it's a bit messy, right? Like, they tried to go for the Roche. It does get contested by Boom. Very even back and forth. Like, this is an opening for CR actually, because the global silence is not going to be there for a minute. If they wanted to get something done, this is the time to do it.
Ohio goes onto the DK again. It seems to be the one target they can take down, but he does BKB up. Still, he is not very tanky, but he has a Shadow Blade available, and that's all that's required. Now, shotgun again onto VT Fade. Fate's Edict, it was going to be a little too late, and now Makoto still running forward with that PL morph. Trying to find somebody, but doesn't quite get anybody. So instead, Makoto finds a double damage rune, and perhaps could think about forcing a Roshan. But instead, they'll start running up top where they know Xiao Yu is.
Under attack.
Can they claim the kill, however? They almost certainly can if he's going to stand there like that. He will sprout up, but Clumsy Net is a thing, and he can't TP away from that. As more of the blast follow, is he TPing? He is. If one TP doesn't work, you use the second one, and it's almost guaranteed to work.
Yeah, they had no way of chopping through those trees. Like they didn't even have the waveform at that moment. So rather unfortunate. They do miss out on a pretty easy kill, or what should have been an easy kill onto Xiao Yu. And once again, CR gonna be happy with just wasting some time there. They still are kind of clumped up. Boom does have global silence backup though, so this isn't the moment for CR to fight. Just take their time and try to farm up. Wait for Boom to try to make a move. I think that's the best you can hope for. Otherwise, a really even game, especially in comparison to game 1. 10 to 10 so far. Both sides fairly even in terms of net worth. No real difference to speak of. And both sides are playing rather cautiously compared to game 1.
Oh, they certainly are. Only at 10 to 10 at 28 minutes in. You look at that net worth graph, John, and it's been really up and down, but most of the game it's been within a 1k advantage either way. There hasn't been anything over 2k worth of a net worth advantage for either team yet.
Has been killed.
And both teams, again, just going to be very, very focused on trying to force down towers and gain map control, as that's really the only way you get a net worth advantage. And, oh, BT faded. Now gets rid of the Sergeant Yasha, makes a Heaven's Halberd out of it, out of the Sarge anyway. And again, it's not really an item we're used to seeing on a PL, but that's exactly what he goes for, and he may need it as they are roaching Boom ID. Ohio jumps in with a very nice avalanche. They go straight onto that Beastmaster at FBZ. He does die, but he binds back. Aegis now is already down, and Makoto does pick it up on the Morphling. And who are they jumping on?
Under attack.
They're trying to find Hyde on that Pugna. Instead, they'll turn around Dreamer Soul. He'll be the target, but he's BKB'd up. He'll try and TP away. Will he make it? He will not. Ben-Hur will bind him with Xiao Yu on the Nature's Prophet, and now they chase more. FBZ, he just fought back. He does commit the Primal Roar, but the Orchid comes out of Xiao Yu, and this is really bad if he dies right now. He does not want to die back like this. He gets decrepified, still trying to run away. The Sprout block is there from Xiao Yu. FBZ is being healed up by Hyde. Is it going to be enough? No. Or maybe it is. The Purified Time's not enough. FBZ, he may get Fountain Dive here as VT faded. He's not done yet. He wants to keep going, but the Decrepify from Hyde will save his hide, quite frankly, as Kescute will also get dived a little bit, but will be able to run away.
Under attack.
And man, oh man, that was such a close dieback for FBZ, but he barely scrapes away with his life intact.
Yeah, that was a lot of saves coming out from Hyde, really. Hyde was the only person keeping him alive. He was the only one with a Force Staff, the only one with a heal. And you are starting to see the effects of that, that urn is really starting to really hurt them a lot. Just dropping that regen off is really starting to stop them. So I think they really need to find a way to deal with that and have a way of getting a purge off. They're probably going to need something like the, at the very least, a Lotus Orb out just to give them a little bit more protection as well. And it doesn't look like anyone's going to be building up to that anytime soon. So it is going to be a constant factor here. Like, a lot of their regens just taken away. They don't have their own Spirit Vessel as well to play with, so you're always going to have that added value from Mushi. He's always going to be able to heal everyone up. And that is what's causing Boom to really just not trade favorably. They just cannot outlast CR. Oh, FBZ.
Oh, they found the Beastmaster. FBZ gets saved once, but you can't save him the second time, and now it looks like they do find Kescute on the silencer, and this draft from Boom ID is slowly starting to fall apart. They're just getting caught out in very forward positions here. I'm surprised of all people FBZ was the one that far forward. Again, he did now die back, and this may mean that CR feel comfortable enough to go for a high ground push, although bot lane. Ohio and Xiao Yu attempting to try and find Dream Assault, but he BKBs and just TPs out. That is still not going to save their tier 2 mid tower, which is almost certainly just going to fall.
Middle tower has fallen.
And now, slowly but surely, Boom ID has pretty much lost control of the map. We talked about their draft being able to push out a lot faster. They haven't been able to. Like, you look at CR, they've gotten control of this map. They've leveraged Xiao Yu quite well. He has gotten a much better game than game 1, I think, especially on this NP. So he's been using that farm to great effect, able to clear out what is the last outer tower for Boom. So that bot tier 2 gonna be taken out, no defense coming out from Boom, and that just means CR is free to run anywhere on the map uncontested
Dire's
now.
bottom tower has fallen.
Every outer tower down. This is when it becomes very hard for Boom ID. It's like, what do you do here? Makoto, he's gonna try and go for a BKB himself, so that's the way they're just intending to deal with the spirit vessels. Just continue to get BKBs on all your cores. And I guess it will help them a little bit, but eventually those durations are going to get quite low if you keep just using it for spirit vessel charges. Well, mid lane, Chain's going to be there on Makoto. Xiao Yu, meanwhile, going straight after FBZ. They know he can't fight back, but Xiao Yu now forced the BKB up as they still jump on the Beastmaster. Ohio with a huge avalanche, but is it enough? Kesku now, he'll be the target of the silencer. Looks like he will go down as Hyde. He'll try to heal up his Beastmaster in the back. He's still falling. Oh, Xiao Yu, very far forward. He will be able to walk away with the false promise that was placed by Mushi. Ohio, that was not the toss back you were looking for. And Xiao Yu will slowly but surely start going down again as now Mushi's starting to fall low. To Dreamer Cell on the DK, but that BKB has worn off. Can they take down the DK? Well, it doesn't matter because they found Xiao Yu on the Nature's Prophet. Dreamer Cell, he will still go down regardless as Makoto going to try and fight back FBZ. He found a primal on Ben-Hur, but it is going to be enough. He couldn't Remnant away in time, and now Ben-Hur, he's going to have to buy back Remnant in and man fight as BT Faded is not done yet on the PL. FBZ has been left, but Ben-Hur does come back for him. And that'll be the end of that. Makoto, he actually has his Aegis end up expiring as well, so there's never been a better time if you are CR to try and make a high ground push, but it seems as though the only problem is they're missing Xiao Yu.
Their push potential does drop without that Nature's Prophet, so they're going to have to wait for that respawn, which should give Boom enough time to have their Beastmaster within range and have Dreamosal back up and running. Really, a lot of back and forth in trades. You are starting to see CR definitely pull away in terms of net worth at the very least. 8k advantage now, 17 to 12 at 35 minutes in. And Boom, it does feel like they're slipping away here. It feels like they're not doing enough damage. The fights are getting pretty scrappy from Boom. It's not as clean, not clean at all coming out from these guys. And in stark contrast to Game 1, it just feels like the execution is falling flat. The farm distribution, while fairly even, how things considered, isn't getting there fast enough. You have the BKB up on Mikoto now at the very least, so the Morphling's not going to be constantly bursted down in the middle of these fights. You're going to have a lot more leeway to get that damage out. That's going to be really important because it just feels like they cannot focus on any of the heroes from CR side beyond Mushi, really. That's the only target they consistently find. And they really need to start taking care of the other cores. Like, they have not managed to get a kill on VT Faded in a while. And the only core that they can really find has been Ben-Hur. But Ben-Hur did go off from a rough start anyway.
Well, I'm curious, John, how do you feel about the Aghanim Scepter DK in this game? Because it seems as though that's what Dreamer Soul is going for. Is the Black Dragon gonna be enough?
I think it's needed here. Again, they don't have a way of getting the damage out in a wide area. That splash is going to be extremely useful. The added damage you get from that is going to be extremely useful.
They get caught out. Ohio gets a toss back, but Shadowblade again. Oh boy, they don't have detection. Oh,
they had some earlier. They've been maintaining that earlier on, but just
not anymore.
Has not had the opportunity to refill on that. So rather unfortunate. He does buy the sentries down and ferries it out. Bit of a mistake, but it does happen, you know, on occasion.
Well, smoke up from Boom. They actually want to take a team fight. There's only one buyback available on the map right now, and that's going to be the Phantom Lancer. And in fact, BT Faded, speaking of, does go straight onto the DK, who does have his axe up. So we do have the Black Dragon available. Dreamer Soul trying to fight. That's a lot of damage, in fact, coming out of Dreamer Soul. Xiao Yu needs to get the hell out of there, and he's gone. Now they jump on the Ember. Life Drain, Ben-Hur, he's falling very, very low. Remnant's flying out. He's just trying to get out of there, but it's not going to be enough. Makoto, he's there with the follow-up. And apparently the Aghanim Scepter may have been enough. He is a very, very strong dragon now.
Oh yeah. He just does so much in this Black Dragon form. So much more damage. You saw it in the splash, right? melt through anyone that clumps up. This is gonna allow Boom to really clear
Radiant's
through those
middle
illusions
tower
and
is
the
under attack.
summons from the NP as well. This gives them a really good
Radiant's
opportunity
middle tower
to
has
push
fallen.
back. They have to watch out for their top lane though. Ohio is trying to split push a bit, but it's not so fast on the support time.
Radiant
Well, BT Faded's not even in his base right now. He's just not
Dire's
interested in
top
trying to
tower is under
defend
attack.
this. We talked about the buyback statuses, John. It was only the PL who had
Radiant's
one.
middle tower
He actually bought out something, so he doesn't have the
Dire's
gold for
top
it
tower
anymore.
is under attack.
So BT Faded can't actually fight this unless Dream Missile doesn't have Dragon Form, but he has it again. FBZ gonna jump in with the Primal Roar now. BT Faded gonna try and defend Mushi, but here comes the DK Dream Missile. Pops the BKB, still trying to go after Mushi, but they don't have the damage output.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Makoto gonna get tossed back. Falling very, very low. He does pop his own BKB, but the bash, it won't be enough. Makoto, he survives with the Glimmer Cave. Where's the detection?
Oh man.
Now the DK, Decrepify, gonna save him for now as he tries to run away. Still BT Faded, gonna chase him down. Dream himself. Do they turn here? It looks like they won't really reset fast
Dire's
enough, so they don't want to
bottom
engage in
tower
this
is
team
under
fight if they don't have to.
Visibility.
And boom, they find a mid-rax. That'll be enough for them. They're out of there.
From losing all of your outer towers to taking the first racks of the game, Boom ID managing to turn the tides there with one item reveal from Dreamocell. It's this Ags on the DK, just paying off in so many ways, and he still has so many ways to grow as well. He still has the Soul Ring he can replace in the Magic Wand. Building towards his AC first, that's going to make it a lot harder to deal with him, but you see some major pickups from BT Faded. He bought out his Butterfly, he had a Basher, and that was causing issues earlier. With a Butterfly now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get all of that damage out consistently, and you're going to have a Roshan on top if you're not careful.
Don't forget Dream Missile, he can fly over cliffs now with that Aghanim Scepter, so he can definitely go for the steal if you're not careful, though they will back out, they'll smoke up and they start looping around.
With me.
CR gonna try and come in from the backside. Yeah, the Treant's just gonna keep vision over the Roshan pin. In fact, Boom ID had the exact same idea. We have a mirror strategy coming out from both sides. Now Makoto trying to bait them forward, and the smoke is broken. BT Faded, they'd love to go for him, but they want Mushi first. Straight onto the Oracle, they burst him down. Makoto, he has the shotgun. Now who do they aim for? Mushi, he bought back into this, so he's got to TP back his way here. And where is he? He does TP to the outpost. Dreamer Cell still man fighting, but it's only against Pure Illusions. Zhao Yu gonna fall on the Nature's Prophet, but they have lost Hide on the Pugna. And now Tiny Ohio, False Promise will save him as they do jump onto Makoto. Morphling, starting to fall low, continuously getting bashed up here, but one Centaur does save the day. So FBZ will use the Dominated Creeper. Kez does lose his life. Makoto still trying to run away. He's out of mana completely, and he should eventually just tick out, as now an Avalanche will come out from Ohio. He's trying to find Dreamer Soul, who has Dragon Form back up, and he'll just keep going over and above terrain. Though he gets chained up, he'll BKB, he'll TP away, and there's no way to cancel that one off. But CR will be able to secure the Roshan.
Yeah, it was a long process, and that did take another buyback coming out from Mushi, but in the end, they find 3 heroes. They managed to take out these, I believe that's the second Roach of the game with the cheese, so more tools now for CR to try to get their own high ground push going. Unfortunately, they have a lot of creeps in their own base that they have to clear out. 2 siege creeps going to be ticking onto that tier 4
Ohio
soon.
got the Yules off on the DK. Dreamer Soul just going to Shadow Blade up. They do have a gem on Ohio, though. This makes it a lot easier to just chase him down, and the only problem is he can just keep flying over the terrain. That's exactly what he does, John. He just flies. That's what dragons do.
Radiant are scanning.
Yep, he still has to wait for his TP though, but again, himself just being very slippery with his Ags upgrade is kind of buying time for his team. Like, they can't get a push out, trying to hunt down the DK, and they were pretty fairly shoved in on their mid. You have to remember they did lose their mid racks, so the mid lane is going to naturally push. That does buy enough time for Mikoto to passively gain the goal to finish his, so he's not gonna have buyback on that Morphling, but does have the MKB to deal with that butterfly on VT Faded.
I love the timeless relic that the DK just found. I kind of wonder, who do you give the relic to? You think it'd either be Makoto on the Morphling holding that timeless relic for the added spell damage, or the Pugna. I have a feeling they're just going to give it over to Makoto. More items to fly out now. In fact, for now they gave the timeless relic to FBZ. I guess for the debuff duration?
Yeah, definitely for a bit more on that. Just to really hammer it in. I think just having additional length on that, I believe Primal Roar. When you're going to be looking at
1 second.
Yeah, just that added control will give you a lot more value, I think, overall. So it is pretty nice. I think with these tier 4s, you should be seeing a bit of a shift up in the game plan for both sides. You're gonna have to be really cautious about that. Like, you have the Princess Knife available for Xiao Yu now, which means his damage is going to be flying out a lot faster. You've got the Witless Shaco onto Mushi, and that means you're not going to be bursting down this Oracle as fast as before.
Xiao Yu just blinked straight into Dream Missile. However, they almost found Makoto. He does BKB up in time, but they are melting on the side of the Dire Hide. Does go down. Now they want to go after FBZ. Can they take him? Not quite. They're trying to deal with this Black Dragon Dream Missile. Avalanche comes out. He is starting to fall low with that Spirit Vessel charge, and he does go down.
Dire's bottom tower is under
Things are looking
attack.
from bad to worse as Xiao Yu gets a spread off from Makoto. They won't quite get the Morphling kill, but now they are going to go high ground.
Dire's
Repair kit going to be thrown out onto the tier 3, and they will fortify with that repair kit. This should be a guaranteed mid-rats.
middle tower has fallen.
I wonder if they go for more now, as you really want to try and force out the buyback from the Dragon Knight.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
There it is.
Dire's top tower is
You'll
under
have Dragon
attack.
form up in
Dire's
15
top
seconds,
tower
however.
has fallen.
Not really very effective as a DK without that
Dire's
Dragon
top
form, and
barracks are under attack.
well, until CR see that big Dragon, they're not going anywhere.
Dire's top barracks has fallen.
Oh yeah, no real threat for them to pull back just yet. You do see Mikado in the back line trying to find something.
Oh, here we go. Makoto.
Oh, boy.
Jumping in, but BT Faded has the control with the Basher. And now the DK gets jumped on. They decrepify Dream Missile. He BKBs up, but he's dead. Mushi kills him off on the Oracle, and that's GG. Boom ID. They will lose a secondary game, as CR do manage to tie up 1-1. And that is going to force a game 3.
Yeah, CR this time around managing to really dictate the pace of the game themselves. I think Boom went for a bit of a slower draft.
5 seconds remaining. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team pick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Are here for game number 3 between CR and Boom Esports.
Radiant
It
team
is, of course, MLP Dota, joined by the lovely John Expire. John, game number 1, Boom Esports, they stomp CR. Game number 2, it's a lot closer, but CR pull off the victory. Game number 3, I guess I'm gonna ask you, who do you predict pulls this one off?
It really depends on how both sides decide to play. I think Boom Esports
10
really
seconds
has to
remaining.
play to their strengths. We've seen this from this team every single time. When they try to play the
5
slow game, it
seconds
really just
remaining.
doesn't pay off for them. When they keep playing that fast, aggressive playstyle that they're known for, that's when they can really shine. I think they've got to fall back to that playstyle here, especially up against a team like CR, which does, you know, CR does
Radiant
kind of
team,
favor
Dire team
going slow as well. They like building up and VT faded into the mid game. So you want to face that off with even faster execution. Boom. Their opener with the Tusk does tell us they want to get something
Dire
done in their
team
lanes,
back.
but CR does dive into Keeper of Light and the Void Spirit. These two heroes are very popular for good reason. The Void Spirit is a constant ban out as well that does slide in here.
Radiant team
So
back.
CR has a lot of tools to get themselves active very early on to shut down enemy farm as well. Boom does respond with a Ricky. They have a good way of perhaps trapping that Void Spirit if they can get the blink and smoke onto that Void Spirit, or they have a really easy way of eating through that Keeper of the Light. Ricky can choose such squishy supports just fine, but there are still a lot of ways for CR to play around this
10
opening for
seconds
Esports.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, both drafts are looking very, very interesting to
5
begin with.
seconds remaining.
That Ricky pick, though, going to have a lot of fun up against that Keeper of the Light Void Spirit, because both the heroes really don't enjoy Ricky Maru coming out. Smokescreen is very disruptive for both of them, but poor Keeper of the Light is probably going to be free food for this Ricky once he is up and online. Well, I guess it'll be a matter of how they play it out, but no matter really how you play it out, these pos 5s against a Ricky generally are just going to continuously die. It's always fun
Yeah,
for the
it
Ricky
is.
play, though.
It's always fun for the Ricky, never fun for the supports. Still, I think Keeper of the Light's one of those heroes that can kind of mitigate it.
Radiant team pick.
If you get the preemptive blinding light, it's gonna be a bit harder for
Dire team pick.
the Ricky to get that damage out consistently, so that's something you should watch out for as well. Interesting pickup from CR. We do see them dip into the Underlord, and that's not a hero you see too often. It's certainly up there, but it's still not the most common offlaner out there. It's definitely one of the more popular ones, but you tend to see favors for something like the Centaur more often,
10
which
seconds
been
remaining.
completely ignored so far. So the
Radiant
Underlord
team
should
pick.
allow CR to really get solid farm their offlane to consistently slow down that Ricky's farm if it's going to be on the safe, and at the very least they've got a solid way of keeping that Ricky in his place. It's going to be excellent to play around with, should work out quite well for CR.
I mean, the thing is with the Underlord pick, like with the trophy aura, it's almost
10 seconds
impossible to
remaining.
last hit with a
Dire
Ricky,
team
right? Like you get a level of, mostly at that level 2 mark with the trophy aura. Ricky just can't last hit anymore. He's got such a crappy base damage as it is, and Underlord just makes it that much worse. I gotta agree, I love the Underlord coming out, though I would agree it is also not the most popular offlane, but you know, in all fairness, in pub
10
games at
seconds
least,
remaining.
it has a very high win rate. So you have that going
5
for you.
seconds
Now,
remaining.
CR, they do go into a puck pickup, so even more AoE control. You have the huge Dream Core that can really be spammed out about every minute or so. I like what I'm seeing here from CR.
Radiant team ban.
Definitely a really
Templar
strong
Assassin.
opening for CR. I think all of it just jives rather well together. Like all these spells do line up quite nicely. The Underlord, the Puck, the combinations you get from that, the Will-O-Wisp from the Keeper of the Light, keeping people in that pit a bit longer if you play your positioning right as well, and spacing of those spells. Just a lot to build
Dire
off of
team
from
back.
this kind of lineup, and none of them are really extremely cooldown reliant. Can make an argument about the Underlord Dark Rift, that major spell you play around anyway, so that's something CR does have in its favor. Boom, do pick up the Templar Assassin next. That's an interesting one. Into the Underlord, that's not an easy time, especially if they decide to just
10
throw a
seconds
curveball there
remaining.
and throw the Underlord mid. We have seen that in response to a
5
sneaky
seconds
TA
remaining.
pickup as well. So you can kind of switch those lane around, give the TA a hard time. That's something CR can fall back to, which makes Mikoto's job in that hero much harder if they do opt to kind of go that way.
Right. The thing with this Boom Esports draft is it seems like it just gets online a lot faster, doesn't it? Like with that TA pickup. Works very well up against the Void Spirit as well. Like just, you know, you have this hero that loves to burst people down, but TA just pops refraction and suddenly all that damage you're trying to get out just does nothing. So I do like what I'm seeing here from Boom in response. Still, one more ban out from Boom Esports is CR. They did get rid of the LC. Who are we getting rid of here?
I'm just surprised the Oracle has just kind of slid through, not being tested by either side at all. Considering how much impact it had in the first 2 games, you'd reckon one of the teams would fall back to it instead, kind of ignoring it in the bans and in the picks. So it is a bit of a shift out. Both sides, really.
Time with this last ban out. Still 30 seconds reserve time left. Boom really just slowed
Dire team
a little
pick.
bit. All right, it'll the Sirens, so they don't want that cheesy kind of pos one to play against, and I can't blame them for that. Obviously, Naga is kind of infuriating to have to go against when you're playing as Ricky as well, because you just don't have the illusion clear. Esports.
10 seconds remaining.
They still seemingly need an offlane hero.
5 seconds remaining.
Someone to really initiate these team fights for FBZ.
Radiant team pick.
All right, Centaur comes out. Pretty popular off lane. Why the hell not?
Solid pick for Boom. Nothing really to, you know, it just slides into any kind of lineup just fine. Can allow you to retreat and engage on your own terms. I think partnership with Lich for the Tusk is going to be pretty potent. That's something that CR is going to have to watch out for whatever they throw down to that safe lane. It's not going to have the easiest of times with this kind of aggressive setup you can have with two supports. It doesn't really give them the best teamfight control. Like, there's nothing in wide AoE, like the Pit from the Underlord and the Dream Coil from the Puck. So in that sense, I still favor CR when it comes down to a full 5v5 brawl, but you do still have decent enough control from Boom. You are going to be relying a bit more on your Lich Chain Frost to land, just to get yourself some control, and CR does last pick that Terrorblade, so you still see that illusion spam coming out here for CR. I think that Terrorblade is going to have a pretty decent time here. You don't have the best magic damage coming out from Boom Esports to punish that pick, and it should be able to ride through that early damage from the Riki and the Templar Assassin just fine. So the weakest point for that Terrorblade is going to be the laning phase. I think Boom has to really prioritize applying that aggression onto VT Faded. Try to shut down the Terrorblade from having a good time. Try to play around the moments when he doesn't have Metamorphosis, one of the biggest weaknesses of that hero, and give VT Faded a hard time. That's going to be the game plan here for Boom. At the same time, of course, you need to give Mikoto enough space in mid, give him some jungle space as well, stack some creeps up to ensure that your TA gets a pretty good timer there. But CR, it's much more straightforward. Ride through that early game, which Boom Esports can kind of take over, and you pretty much have better control, earlier timings on your Void Spirit and Puck, and potentially better scaling from your Terrorblade.
Gotta admit as well with the I mean, it's not so large reduction, but having the coddle there with the Terrorblade, John, Metamorphosis is not an ultimate ability. So you can lower that cooldown of the meta with the Chakra Magic, and you know, any amount of time being reduced with that Metamorphosis is always quite nice for the Terrorblade.
Definitely. It's always helpful, of course. That's something that you would want. I'm not sure if you're really going to be prioritizing that. Like, that's 6 seconds off. It will stack up. I'm just not sure if you're going to get off every single with that kind of whether or not they're going to run that laning combination as well is Cockle, Terrorblade. Right?
Seems alright.
It's alright. Like, quite strike me as the most potent lane. At the very least, you do defend the Terrorblade just fine with the Coddle. You're gonna need point in Blinding Light to just ensure that your Terrorblade's not gonna be jump. But I don't see too much aggressive movement coming out from that combination. Unless you can consistently land your Illuminate, run the risk of shoving out a lane if your it's not right. Be interesting to see.
You don't really want to be aggressive with this Terrorblade, do you? Like, you just want to secure the farm anyway.
It really depends on what Boom ID wants. Like, if Boom ID is going to be running down at you, you don't really have much of a presence. Ran out of that kind of pretty level Blinding Light. It does look like Mushi does go for Blinding Light. They can kind of stave off that that aggression from Boom. Potentially, does look like Hyde is going to be on that bot lane, along with FBZ. You do have a lot of potential for chain stunning there. Hyde is walking to the top instead.
30 seconds to battle.
I do not thank.
I'm gonna say hello, Ohio. Gonna Dream Missile a tap on the shoulder. Hyde gonna rotate around with the tag team, but doesn't pop it quite yet. As well, they will spot out Ohio, so Blink Strike gonna be there. Ohio tag team up. Blinding Light is gonna be there, but I don't believe it'll be enough, as Ohio will be the first blood for Dream Missile on the Riki.
And daggered.
That is a very nice start coming out for this Boom ID side.
Come and fight me.
Yeah, not only that, but they managed to grab themselves 2 bounty runes, only one going the way of CR, and they did have to deny the last one as well. seeing a bit of a better start here. You are forced to keep Mushi up top as well to try to get control in this lane.
Yeah, you definitely do. The tri-lane continues as Boom ID aren't removing their own tri. It is a very strong tri-lane to have. Plenty of kill potential here for Boom ID. And well, this really isn't going to favor CR because you don't really want to leave VT faded here up against FBZ by himself.
The moment that Metamorphosis fades away, FBZ's have time to clear out the wave. At level 1, the Centaur is not much of a threat. But once you hit level 2, level 3 is when it really starts to shine. Don't want to be leaving that Terrorblade alone. Just way too much downtime that Metamorphosis.
Hyde gonna move in with the tag team, but he's very, very low right now, and Ohio
Might wish to retract
gonna be
your
able to pick up the kill on the puck. Not really sure why you run in that low, but he ends up paying for it.
Strange decision to make. Kezcute as well, just in the middle of the two supports, is forced to TP back to his tier 1. Does get away from any moves. This does kind of free up Hyde to go to a different lane on bot. Can be there to apply some damage to Faded if they wish. Again, he still doesn't have level 2 severe. No snowball, no ice shards just yet. It's gonna be a while until that combination is up and running.
Behold!
Mid lane, we do see Makoto up against Ben-Hur on the Void Spirit, and well, so far, both sides are having a very even time, though it looks like Makoto is slowly pulling ahead on the TA, which I suppose in some sense is to be expected. However, Makoto is lower in level. Ben-Hur finding an XP advantage very early on.
Just a little bit more for himself there. I think that down to perhaps a denies. Although Mikado does catch up, and I think it's at level 4 when it starts to get a bit better for the TA in terms of matching up and of the harass. I mean, yeah, on paper, this should be a better lane for the TA. You just don't have any good way of burning through those charges from Ben-Hur, so that is going to be something he has to watch out for.
TB apparently went down bot lane. I apologize, we're having a bit of an issue, so I'm trying to fix it as we speak, John. But Terrorblade's life been lost, and that's what you really get for leaving FBZ alone down there. And Mushi has rotated there on the Keeper of the Light now, but Hyde will follow on the Tusk, and they intend to make it as hellish as possible for this Terrorblade, as Mushi's gonna try and be as disruptive as possible on the Keeper of the Light, but as a coddle, all you can really do is spam Blinding Light every time they make a jump. As top lane, Dreamer Cell gonna go onto Ohio,
Taken before
and
my
Dreamer Cell will
time.
pick up his second kill of the game. So the Ricky really finding quite a bit of net worth very
Radiant's
early
bottom
on.
tower is under attack.
Definitely, you expect a bit more presence from an Underlord lane, even against like a Ricky. You mentioned like the Firestorm should be doing a lot more. The Atrophy Aura should be making Assault farm up. He's still hitting a pretty good stride here. His last hits aren't quite up there, 18, 19 to 2, but that's still keeping in pace with the Terrorblade down bot, and at the very least, Dreamocell is finding those kills. So overall, a bit of a better time for Boom ID when it comes to the laning phase.
Hyde gonna find Mushi on the Keeper of the Light, and now with that, it should be a very easy kill. FBZ with the follow-up Hoof Stomp, and I mean, that duo, that combination of heroes is just so effective. If you do find a nice support pick like the Keeper of the Light, FBZ and Hyde, surely just to continue this real aggression they're bringing out in this lane.
There's really not too much you can expect from the duo of Terrorblade and Coddle to dissuade this aggressive movement. This is going to be a massive vulnerability. Or VT Faded, like right now, he doesn't have Metamorphosis. Hyde can just walk up and try something again.
He's gonna try. Shards do land. Hyde with the tag team as well. He does still have a snowball, but they do get the Hoof Stomp off in time. VT is a bit tanky with that armor. And looks like they won't really be able to get through the armor of the Terrorblade this time, especially considering Mushi was there and ready to go with the Blinding Light anyway.
Dire's structures are fortified.
We'll just continue as per normal. It's a 1-4 Boom ID. It's really hard with this kind of draft, right? Because once they get ahead, it is extremely hard to slow them down.
Definitely. Like Boom, they just come online and snap with their TA, and Putter was already having that good time down mid. The Ricky will take a bit more, like even if he's having a pretty decent time up top. The itemization and progression for that itemization does take a bit longer, but the same thing can be said for CR. Like Terrorblade is, even if he's not exactly missing out on last hits here, did die once, is under a lot of pressure in his lane, and even if he rides through this lane at this exact pace, you're waiting for a couple of items to come out from this TB before he's ready to go. You're gonna have to look at the Underlord, look at the Void Spirit to really pick up that slack, and right now you are getting good farm on your Underlord, but it does feel like Ben-Hur is just struggling a bit too much.
Arcane power.
Stampede to be popped. FBZ just trying to run away from Ben-Hur, who's getting very, very aggressive with that Void Spirit. And of course at level 6, it is a huge power spike for the Void Spirit, so you've got to just run away if this man rotates at that 6 mark. There's just no point fighting with the amount of burst he has.
Oh, sure.
Top lane, Zhao Yu. Tag team gonna come out. Zhao Yu with the bit of balance down. He is losing a lot of HP with that Tricks of the Trade, and Mushi doesn't connect with the Blinding Light onto Dreamer Cell. And Ohio gonna join in. They're gonna try and at least dish out a bit of harassment, but they've got to be careful. In fact, never mind. Ben-Hur jumps in now. KSQ does melt, and they will also find Hyde. Very nice rotation coming out from that Void Spirit, but they don't really find the Ricky.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I mean, you force that rotation out from CR, you don't manage to find a Ricky. I think overall, you're still kind of happy finding those kills on the supports. At the very least, Ben-Hur is the one.
Radiant structures
You are getting a little bit more for your Void Spirit, the hero that really needs to get that good start going for himself. Again, he had a bit of a slow start in his mid lane matchup, but as long as he keeps finding these kills and pressures these towers with VT Faded, should be able to get his foot back in, and he should be able to clear out this top tier 1.
He's gonna try.
Top tower is under attack.
Looks like it'll be no problem for him. He does pick it up.
Tower is under attack.
FBZ may start trying to work down that bottom tier 1 tower, but before that, Ohio is gonna be chased down by the Ricky. He'll be okay. He'll just orb away. CR are the first ones. I say the first ones, but their mid tier 1 did go down for that top tier 1 trade, so it wasn't exactly the nicest trade in the world for CR. In fact, Boom ID probably going to be pretty okay with that.
Definitely. It is a much bigger target, that mid tier 1. We talk about it every single time. It gives a lot more control towards the way of Boom. Allows them to play in that jungle area just fine. They are trying to go for wards. KSQ drops a nice sentry, but isn't quite in range. Gets taken out.
Ben-Hur, 8th Remnant, gonna save him from Hyde, but Hyde is continuing the chases. He does have Snowball, traps are gonna be there. Ohio just orbs in and dies to the Roshan. I believe he was being chased down, but Ben-Hur is continuing to be chased. And Makoto just gonna start taking his stacks away. Ben-Hur gonna try and contest, but Hyde is still waiting. He will Astral Step away. And, well, bot lane. FBZ does pick up a solo kill out onto Mushi. Mushi just trying to get his outpost back, and he does manage to get it in time, but it costs him his life.
I think that's a worthwhile trade. At the very least, you do keep control of that one outpost. You give a lot more EXP towards the entire team. For the cost of support kill, bad for CR. Gonna be a lot happier to spread that EXP out, especially to your core, to get as much as they can early on. You want your Void Spirit to start snowballing soon. You want your Underlord to be able to apply that pressure across the map. Kind of has slowed down here for CR. Like they're the ones playing a bit more passively. Has been on the get-go. Everyone besides Ben-Hur has really focusing on farming up.
Mushi again will just get back to stacking for his team. Problem is those stacks are very open to the side of Boom to try and take if they do manage to breach that that triangle.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Well, Boom being a bit of an engagement here. Ohio getting caught out with a startling gaze, though he will manage to orb away. In fact, Kezcute is the one to drop first. They do commit the stampede to
Radiant's
try and get out of range of
attack.
VT. Faded on the TB. Now the bottom T1 tower.
Dire's bottom tower is
Does
under
end up
attack.
dropping, but they are going to try and defend this. It's still not down yet. FBZ taking a lot of damage from that Terror Blade, but now Hyde will move in and Dreamer Cell. He gets Ohio, but they have lost the Tusk. Can you keep this fight up? Dreamer Cell, he's going to keep moving forward onto Xiao Yu now. In fact, they'd love to find Void Spirit Ben-Hur. She does get the 8th remnant off. FBZ starting to fall low. The Pit of Metals has been placed, but Ben-Hur now going to be the target. They do find a nice trade. Dreamer Soul needs to run out of there. Though a nice Will-O-Wisp coming up from Mushi, and he knocks back the Ricky, so he does dodge out a tick on the Will-O-Wisp. They do manage to get out of there safely.
Overall, still a bit of a win in the end for CR. Do manage to force a lot more from Boom in that response there. They still lose Ben-Hur. That's a pretty big target to lose out on, I think. Definitely not the hero you'd want to sacrifice there, but they do save VT Faded. They managed to apply some decent damage onto that tier 1, not managing to quite clean it up. And they force Boom to really focus their resources. It does stop them from farming up. You saw even Mikoto was in that general area. Desolator is going to be a bit longer. You know, he's missing out on a couple of camps, but the gold is flowing in, just about 100 away from his last Mithril Hammer. And once you have that up and running on Mikoto, it should be much easier for him to get the damage out onto these key heroes.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
And he does have it now. The final Mithril Hammer is on the way. He hasn't got really anything queued up after that quite yet, but you'd imagine it'll either be a BKB or a Blink Dagger. Almost always is. 8th Remnant does connect on Mikoto, but there's no real follow-up to it.
And for CR as well, all this downtime is giving an opportunity to try to farm up. It's not quite the same pace as it would be for TA, but we are seeing him start to finish up a couple of key items. He does have his Yasha up. He's had a Ring of Tarask for a while, is working towards his Manta style next. And that should give him a little bit more flexibility in these fights. It should give him just a little bit more durability as well. And we mentioned from draft, the longer this game goes, the better it is for CR. Boom. Has to try to get that early advantage now and try to really start to shut out that map. Otherwise, the Terrorblade is just going to be a constant issue for Boom.
Smoke will come out from CR. Dreamer Soul would be a fantastic target to find, but he hasn't really attacked anything yet. They're just going to wait at that high ground. But seeing VT faded there does pretty much indicate the rest of the team is behind him, and in fact he does go for the CS anyway. Now Ohio ready with the Dream Core, they do commit and Ben-Hur jumps in, and the Ricky does not manage to get away. Dreamer Cell giving a mega kill streak to the side of CR. And I'm kind of shocked he went for the CS attempt that early on. It felt like it was kind of obvious that they were going to go for that smoke attempt, but then again, I guess with the outpost that they controlled, they thought they had the control of that jungle. Still, they will also lose Kescute on the ledge, who was caught very out of position.
All these kills are going to be giving CR a much better time. VT Faded managed to clean up that kill on Dreamwell as well, so he's getting a lot more on the Terrorblade. He has overtaken the Ricky in terms of word. They do transition into Metamorphosis as well, down mid, taking out that tier 1 very easily. No contestation coming out from Boom. That is just going to give an equal amount of control back towards the way of CR. This does mean it's going to be slightly harder for Boom to maintain control in their jungle. You see some lovely wards coming out from CR as well. A nice deep observer ward in that jungle to watch the farming patterns of Boom. And if they don't get the D wards out, that is something CR can exploit quite well. That's what allowed them to get that kill onto the Ricky in the first place.
Now the blink's going to be up on Makoto. It's gonna some pretty nice progression for this TA. Already treads Deso blink up at 16.5 minutes, and they're gonna go straight for a Roshan attempt. Still, there is going to be some counters coming in from CR. So that is a huge pit of malice coming in now. A Thurman to pick up at least the TA. Still, they will stampede out of there. Boom. Left the Roshan very, very low. And Dreamercell actually finding Ohio again in the back on the puck. Still Makoto now, knowing the puck isn't up, will go back in. Ohio not buying back, and FBZ actually gets a nice boost on Xiao Yu. They do finish off the Roshan to pick up the Aegis, but FBZ gonna fall over to huge Chain Frost, just bouncing between everyone. Xiao Yu, he does go down before the Dark Grip's over, and now they do find Ben-Hur as well. BT Faded gonna try and TP out. Can they get a stun off in time? They cannot, but it's a huge team fight for Boom ID.
Managed to really turn that one around. It looked a bit iffy when they were scouted out by a very good drop of the pit. Unfortunately, every single time Ohio is isolated by Dreamwell and just taken out. They really need that Dream Coil on top of everything else for everything to really fit in. They need that Dream Coil, they need a Will-O-Wisp on top of that pit to get their control out, to manage to pump that damage out. And Boom just manages to split them up in a very awkward way that CR just cannot get that engagement looking for. So CR has to be much more careful when taking those fights. I think you want to group your two supports together just fine. You want Mushi and Ohio to be together along with Xiao Yu. And that's really the key thing for CR to take these fights. That control, without it, Boom can just kind of run around and get whatever they want. Now you have to play into Mikado, who has the Desolator and Blink, along with the Aegis.
Hide. Smoked up. Oh, in fact, never mind the smoke. He's invis. They're going to head down bot. They'll spot out Xiao Yu on the Underlord, but he's going to hide in the tree line by that tier 2 tower, and instead they're going to find Ohio again. Dreamwell gets smoke screen, has the Diffusal Blade, and then it's such an easy kill. Now Makoto jumps in the back, finds Xiao Yu. He will manage to get the TP scroll off, but there's no one to save that bottom tier 2 tower, and Boom ID will happily take that. It just seems like this Dire draft is really starting to overtake this game.
They're starting to hit their timers. This is around the point when they come online. CR just took it a bit too slow in that early point. They didn't really keep a lid onto Mikado once more. He basically had free reign to farm up in the jungle, play catch-up, give himself a bit of a lead. And they just can't deal with the damage coming out from Mikado. He also can help to melt towers now. You see the same thing for Dreamwell. He doesn't have as much on him. Really just the Diffusal and Power Tread so far, but he's been finding the right targets every single time. He's been isolating Ohio. He understands without that puck's control, CR cannot take these fights.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Death's bounty.
Illusion.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant
Now the
structures
tier 1
are
top,
fortified.
Mikoto, gonna start setting up for that. Boom ID. Continue this control over the map.
Radiant's top
See
tower
Mikoto,
has
he's going for
fallen.
that standard BKB after the blink diffuse, blink deso, and it's gonna have it up very
Radiant's
soon.
top tower is under attack.
FBZ as well. He has the full Crimson Guard and pipe up on the centaur. I mean, that is just huge. So hard to take a team fight into both those items. And they're gonna try Zhao Yu. We'll get in there with the Pit of Malice. They may find the centaur, but how do you get everyone else? Well, they drop a Will-O-Wisp just on one hero. FBZ, even with the Dream Coil, just to make sure he dies, but he's stampeding now. He's just not dying. The Chain Frost comes in. They claim a 1-for-1 trade. They do end up fighting FBZ, but Zhao Yu goes and Hyde also dies. Boom now. Probably need to back, but Dreamer, so he jumps in after the point spirit. In fact, he may find him. Tricks the trade. Ohio, he does go down to Mikoto on the TA, and they do finally find Ben-Hur on that point spirit. Now Kezcute going down on the Lich, but Mikoto has control over BT Faded, and he's got no way out of there. And look at this, he's gonna find the 5th one, Mushi, trying to deny this trap. It's not gonna work, Dreamer, so with the tricks of the trade does pick up the kill. But they dropped every single ultimate they had on the Centaur, and it was not enough.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
It just isn't. You mentioned it earlier. He already has the pipe. He already has the Crimson Guard. It takes a lot of commitment to kill off a centaur in that
Radiant's
way.
top tower has fallen.
And if you don't kill him before he gets stampede off, and FBZ held on to that stampede for a very long time, then he's always going to be happy. You know, you're wasting time on a tanky hero that really just needs to press stampede for the most part, maybe get a stun off every now and again. And if you can get that done for his team, they're glad. They can make it work. They lose a couple of heroes in that exchange, but it is a huge win for Boom. That does allow Mikado to finish up his BKB as well. So his Aegis does expire, but he's got the BKB up and running, which means all that control you were looking at is just not there anymore. You're gonna need something like the tags on the puck, get that Dream Coil Pierce to get that control onto the TA, and that's not gonna be up anytime soon from a support puck.
Boom, now looking to chase more Ben-Hur. Came back in, that is a dangerous place to be. Ben starting games will hold him down. Now with the smoke screen, they do take him out. The Dream Coil only connected on FBZ, and now they've lost Mushi, so the Keeper of the Light not even there. Zhao Yu should be okay with the Dark Rift. But you lost the 2 for nothing, and they should be able to set up on that mid-tier 2 tower.
It's gonna be a pretty straightforward push. Don't have the Dream Coil up. You're gonna have Metamorphosis at the very least in 10 seconds, so that option is gonna be back for BT Fatal, although...
Ohio getting caught again, and that's the deadly part about Dreamer Souls Ricky. Now BT faded. He ran into the smoke screen. Zhao Yu will be the one to be picked off anyway.
Tower is under attack.
But CR are really starting to fall apart in Game 3. You know, we talked about it in the draft phase. With this kind of draft from Boom, if you give them the lead, it is very hard to slow them down. And that's exactly what they're seeing. In fact, they're looking to go for a tier 3 tower. They don't even have Aegis up anymore, but they still seem to be confident enough, and they will finally back out.
At this point, Boom has everything they could want to really start to apply that pressure. They have been applying that pressure for a while. VT faded, you know, he's been doing fine for himself. He's saving up for a butterfly. Skipping out in the BKB now, which is a bit worrisome. I don't think he has enough durability to really do the damage Boom ID has just with a mischance on that fight. So it's going to be a bit of a gamble once it's up. Of course, his damage does shoot up by a fair bit, but his durability, whether or not it's going to be enough with just the butterfly is a different question. He switches out again towards the Scotty, so more raw stats. Really, I still think the BKB bit better. Just having that spell immunity very valuable in this case to allow himself to get done.
Jump in. They have found Hyde, who overextended quite a lot. Looks like they're kind of rushing here because they've got a double damage rune active on the TA, but now Dream Call has been broken and a 3-man Will-O-Wisp Makoto feels like he has to turn around and Tuz just burst down Mushi. Now they do fight Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur, he can't get out of there. And the Stampede forward, they can still take this team fight as now the Terrorblade with that double damage really isn't as tanky. Xiao Yu also melts. And they're going to find an 18k net worth lead on Boom, and that's enough. They call GG, and CR will lose this series 2-1 to Boom ID.
Radiant's middle
Yeah, it was a stronger showing in game number 2 than game 1. Game 3 kind of brought that boom that we saw in game 1, right? That aggression that we were used to seeing did come out again. Their farm prioritization was perfect. CR had a couple of shine